hold on. No, it gets confused. All right, Chairman.
Okay, we'll call tonight's City of Olivet Planning and Community Design Commission for October 16th, 2025 to order. Acting Secretary Sam, would you please call the roll?
Member Tim Spiegelglass.
Present.
Member Laura Ragsdale.
Present.
Member Felicia Ford.
Present.
Member Jenna Nat, absent. Secretary Petrie Powell.
Here.
Vice Chairman Sam Wallach, present. And Chairman Rob Jagel.
Present. All right, let it also be known that we have our City Council Liaison, Councilmember Brian Lewis in attendance, as well as staff liaisons, Carlos Trejo, Olivet's Director of the Planning and Community Development Department, Dawn Doty, Senior Planner, and Jack Carswell, Planning and Zoning Administrator. Do I see, is there anybody else that I need to notify?
No,
All right.
like everybody's been acknowledged.
Good. All right. Thanks, everybody, for being in attendance. We appreciate it. It's not always that we get more than a couple members in the audience, so we appreciate a little bit of attendance here. So thank you. For those of you who've never been to this before, we follow kind of an agenda type program. So we go through each item one by one. There'll be typically with each agenda item, there'll be a staff presentation. There'll be time for commission members to ask questions with staff, kind of go over things, and then we typically bring on the petitioner to kind of help answer any questions or to provide any additional background on the petition that we need to know about. And then we also ask if there's any public comments related to that agenda item. If there are public comments that are not related to an agenda item, we kind of cover that in the beginning, okay? But we do ask you, if you do have public comments that are related to an agenda item, wait until that agenda item and wait till that time is allotted, and then we'll provide it. We do ask that all public comments be limited to no more than 3 minutes, kind of make everybody, to allow for everybody's opinions to get heard and to kind of keep things, moving along. So we do ask if you guys, try to keep it as concise as possible and try not to be repetitive with duplicate comments, but indicate you share the same feelings, with the other people. So any questions? All right, seeing none. Oh, for those online, it will ask you to push the button that says to raise your hand. It's usually at the bottom of the Zoom display or window. And we do ask that if you are brought in to speak, we do ask that you look to make sure your mic is on as well as your video is on. It'll speed things up. By default, those are turned off. So we can't really proceed until those are turned on. So look for those. It'll help things out a lot. So, all right, good. Carlos, did I miss anything?
No, sir.
Okay, we'll move on to public comments that are not related to anything on the agenda. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to have a public comment about anything? Non-agenda item related. Seeing none, Carlos, will you check online?
Does anybody online like to speak regarding to a non-related agenda item or item? And Chairman, there is one person, but no hand.
Okay, good. So we'll move on to new business.
Chairman, a couple of announcements, if that's okay.
Sure.
To begin the meeting. The month of October is National Community Planning Month, where we recognize all the volunteers that assist staff for planning with Olivet. And we want to thank the commission members, other board members. The council did adopt a proclamation on Tuesday recognizing the contributions that you as volunteers with families put at least 2 times a month reviewing and dedicating your time to the community and all that, and it's much appreciated.
Well, thank you. That's very nice. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Do we get a
second item.
certificate? Darn.
The second item is to inform the public. Of course, we do have our 2024 comprehensive plan update, which establishes our community vision to be a vibrant and unique city, strengthened by its diverse population, invigorated by its opportunities for community connection, and distinguished by its dynamic sense of place. Within this visions, our main values are building community, embracing diversity, forwarding sustainability, balancing our economy, making sure that the community is affordable and attainable, and to provide opportunities for a connected, built environment and a sense of place. The 2024 comprehensive plan and its full aspects are online, and encourage members of the public to take a look at that. That sets our vision. It identifies our goals and pretty much sets the precedent of how this commission makes its decisions through that process. So that's all I have, Chairman. Thank you.
Thanks, Carlos. I mean, it's always great to go over those. I think that's good to keep that in the forefront of kind of everything we do. So thank you for keeping that up. All right, let's move on to new business item A, which is 8950 Olive Crossing, lot number 6. Jack or Carlos?
Mr. Carswell is going to make the presentation, and as he's preparing, I am going to kind of show a quick aerial of the site and its location, just for view. And if you could bear with me 1 second. And I'm hoping that our commission members online can see that video clip. And they can't.
No.
All
You
right.
want to start that over?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping now the commission members can see the
Yes.
aerial video clip. As Mr. Carswell gets through the details, the closest, the northern wall of the proposed hotel aligns itself with these lines right here. It starts here, and then what we know as lot 6 extends back. And this is a mound of dirt that's being stored on that site. That dirt will be removed as part of the process, and Mr. Carswell will talk about the grading as he goes through his presentation.
Is this the furthest most southern tip of that entire development?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I thought so, but I just wanted to make sure.
All right.
Hey, Carlos, well, Jack or Carlos, will the presentation kind of go over kind of how we got here, what
Yes.
happened before, just because we have new commission members, so I think it'd be great. All right.
Bear with me. You should be now. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Commission. So before you tonight is 8950 Olive Crossing, Lot 6, which is now proposed for a courtyard by Marriott. Just for clarification, we're not acting on this item tonight. This is more of like a preliminary design review to allow the Commission to provide guidance for anything based on the building for architecturally improvements, site improvements, and the aesthetic design of the building. So just a little background information about the development. As a master development plan, this came in and was approved under, one moment, I want to make sure I get the exact date right. On September 24th of 2019, the City Council approved to establish the Olivet Gateway Plaza PDD redevelopment for Olive Crossing, which is a 14-acre site. This happened through Ordinance 2675 and Ordinance 2725. The two ordinance approved the master development plan for the 14-acre plan development district that is known as the Olivet Gateway Plaza PDD, which is now called Olive Crossing. What has not been approved by the City Council is the architectural design and aesthetics of this building, hence why it's here tonight before design review. So just to clarify, the hotel has already been confirmed as this site will house a hotel and confirmed and approved by council. For some additional information, the design review concept that happens kind of falls under the third step of the process during the review process. First is the conceptual review. The second is the development review, which is where that master development plan is adopted. And then the third step is the design review, where we are at today. A little bit more information about the lot. It's just a proposed 4-story hotel, 128 rooms, part of the Olive Crossing development, of course, and then the use, location, and mass has already been approved by council. So next is, this was kind of the example of the master development plan. You can see in the bottom left is a zoomed in picture of what that lot will look like. That's where the hotel is. The configuration or, footprint of that hotel may have changed. However, that is what the overall development plan was in place. And then we can move on to, so now we're going to go into the grading about the site. So like Carlos noted, there's about sort of, I want to say 10 feet-ish of exfil dirt that has, as the other sites towards the front of Olive have been redeveloping, that dirt has just been, slowly pushed back. That dirt is not going to stay on the property. So the grading plan has already been approved by MSD. And as you can see this here, the hotel first floor is shown to be at, oh gosh, okay, there we go, 589.50. And the elevation provided notes that the screen wall, there's a screen wall on the southern side, no, western side. Yes, sir, thank you. The western side that abuts the Stoneleigh Towers subdivision. That screening wall will be roughly 2 feet higher than the hotel's first floor. So that grading plan, just for a little bit of information, you have it in your packets, but that cross section was kind of done as a 2-to-1. So that patio space looks a lot closer to where that screen wall is going to be than it actually is. Where that larger red arrow is pointing, there is an inlet there, and that smaller red arrow is pointing to the MSD plans that note that top of that inlet is at 586. And then the grading plan will, here I go to the next slide. Okay, so then the grading plans show that the grading will gradually slope down like 3 to 4 feet from the foot of the wall and slope up around roughly 2 to 3 feet back up towards the hotel's first floor. So as you can see there, the base of that screen buffer wall is actually going to be 2 feet higher than what the first floor of the hotel is set at. Also, for some additional context, I don't know if you guys can see it that well there, but there's me standing on top of the inlet at 586, and the wall is over out there at 591. In total, the hotel is roughly, making sure I get this, 100%. Okay, the hotel that was provided notes that the overall height will be set at 44 feet that's where the primary roof line is. However, it goes up an additional 10 feet due to the parapet. Within the master development or the ordinance that was adopted, those parapets are actually not included within the overall building height. So we're not going to count that towards the overall height of the building. It's just based off of that primary roof line. So it's going to be going off of that 44 feet that was presented in the plans.
Jack, just to
Yes.
interrupt, just to clarify for the commission, the stormwater infrastructure has already been put in place. That's been already installed. And what this represents here is the underground stormwater main that runs towards Olive. This here looks like a pencil is the actual stormwater inlet, and up on top of this inlet is where Jack is standing. That's already in place. And it's not like this can be moved down or readjusted. That line runs all the way north towards Olive. So we're letting you know in terms so you get a good idea of, because of the mound, the storage mound back here, what the actual grades are, because those are based before any of that construction started. So you can see Jack, his feet are at 586.33, which is the top of the inlet. That is already there. You can't see it in there. And then the base of that wall is at 591.5.
What's the ground floor?
The ground floor for the hotel, I'm gonna take it back to Jack, is at 589.5.
589.5.
I'm gonna go back up one, and you can see it here.
And the
589.5.
first slide also has the full MSD line shown.
So here's that inlet. This goes all the way back to Olive here. And that top of that inlet is the bottom of that swell. Here's the base of the buffer screen wall. And here's the finished floor of the hotel.
Okay.
All yours, Jeff.
So then we go on to just the general information regarding the hotel. So the hotel, again, is totaling 75,365 square feet. The overall building height of the hotel is at 54 feet, including the parapet, but 44 where we don't include that parapet. It will house an indoor pool and an exterior courtyard. And just to clarify with the MU district notes that the patio on the exterior must be at least 20 feet away to establish the transitional yard or a buffer. So that's noted there as well. From the screen wall, it must be that much distance away from there to establish that transitional yard. Here are some elevations of the hotel. You can see that they just have the different, we'll go into the discussion topics actually next. So I'll go into that and then we can jump back. But so within staff's discussion topics, we kind of already touched on the grades and topography, but then some other stuff that stuck out to us when we were doing our review was asking the questions of what happens between the area of I-170 and the retaining wall and the parking on the east side of the site. Who's going to, what's going to happen with that leftover space? What's going to go on with the maintenance of it? We're questioning, just looking for additional information on the lighting, still awaiting a lighting plan to just make sure that we can get that. Sustainability, we're going to ask, what is being done related to the waste and recycling operations, the stormwater collection and reuse, which Carlos already said it's in the site, but, additional aspects of that. And then the lighting efficiency and sustainability relating to building materials. Also, one thing that's noted in our developers agreement, as well as it's the MU code that talks about the materials. Majority of the materials on the hotel is EFIS, and EFIS is signified as a secondary building material rather than a primary building material. So we want to bring this up to the concern of the commission, just because within the code, it states that all building materials shall be the subject to review and approval by the commission. The commission shall engage with the developer to maintain the full extent as possible standards outlined under these building material sections. And then I wrote that the following exterior building materials are considered secondary, which that's noted as cement, stucco, or EFIS, or any floor that's above the ground level floor. So that's noted as a secondary material, but it's shown pretty, significantly throughout the project. But again, also not on the first floor at some portions. We also are seeking some clarification on that exterior patio. How will the noise be controlled with the neighbors that are behind there in the subdivision? Is the patio is it more than just the slab that's shown? The area should contain a defined perimeter, which will then, control the access points of that patio, allowing for more privacy as well as buffering from that space located off of the rear of the hotel. We're just requesting an accurate hotel floor plan. It very well could be accurate that was sent, but they're depicted as on your plans as third and fourth floor plan twice, and there are differences between those. So we just want to it may just be something of, simplifying the notation to just say fourth floor plan versus third and fourth floor plan. So we would just like to go back and just check over that. And then also how to incorporate the master pedestrian plan. As part of that ordinance and developer agreement, there was a pedestrian plan that was put in place. Carlos drew this great pedestrian plan that's on your screen right here. And then we're asking how will the sidewalk to the pedestrian pathways on the site be integrated with the master pedestrian plan for the development as a whole. And we're seeking how that pedestrian plan is going to be applied to this site. So we're still awaiting that plan as well. And then I can answer any questions as well as Carlos, as well as Mr. Yawitz is here too.
Does anybody have any initial questions?
I have a couple of questions.
Go ahead, Peter.
One is, given the proximity to the backs of these homes, and I know there are screening walls there, are we in the future lighting plan going to require maybe night sky lighting for the parking lot so it's not blaring into the backyards of Stoneleigh Towers? That's the first question. And then the second question is, since this is in the southernmost parcel Is there any idea to have Marriott do some sort of wayfinding sign saying that this is the city of Olivet? I think I mentioned before that I think it's not really clear with the normal MoDOT signage, that we are distinct from University City. And you don't know that you're entering Olivet when you come off of 170 and make a left. And so it seems to me that either some signage there or signage on Olive, where I think it's a catch basin. I can't remember in my head, but where there's going to be some signage that does the placemaking for us. And so those are my two main questions. And I don't know if you have any information on either one of those.
Chairman, I can
Yeah,
go
yeah.
ahead and address it. And part of our chapter 428 requires that the lighting be controlled. It has to be set so there's no spillover in that process. Now, the one thing is that the developer was granted approval for a height of 24 or 28 feet for their poles. And they're along the internal parts and eastern portion of the property. We'll like to see, of course, to see the lighting plan once it is submitted. We don't have one in there. And then one of the items that's noted in your staff report talks about the control of the blue hue or the lighting hue, trying to minimize that. And that's one of the aspects of the dark skies. And even Creve Coeur just recently adopted an ordinance that controls the color temperature of the lighting. The developers worked with us in the current installation at Audi and along Olive to try to address those two issues in there. And I think of today we've had one concern, and that was regarding the lighting that was on the top deck of the parking structure. And
Right.
I know the developer was getting that addressed after we informed them of some concerns that were brought to our attention.
That was just my concern, is that we've already had this issue raised.
Mhm.
And, I assume that it's going to be addressed in the lighting plan. And I know
Yeah.
Creve Coeur has some, I think it's a BMW dealership that does this direct downward lighting. And it's so much nicer than, a used car lot. And I hope that we're somewhere at least in between, more downward facing to protect, the parking lot, but not spill over to the
It is
neighbors.
required. It is required by code already.
Okay, great.
So regarding the wayfinding, a very good question, and we'll talk about this a little bit later. Bear with me here. On wayfinding, we have two different plans in place. The Parks Department kind of prepared a wayfinding plan. It's probably about 5 or 8 years old in there, where the request was for us to stop putting all of that on signage in there. That it was if you look at their plan in the grand scheme, they had identified and articulated where the signage would go, including like the entry signs into all of that. Now, those have not been funded as of yet, but they do have a master plan regarding wayfinding. It's kind of geared more for the parks in there, but they also took the lead in terms of the city entrances in there. Now, the developer just put up, this was the last one that the commission had approved, in which we were providing signage or an entry point as part of this development. And that Olive Crossing sculpture that runs across here. So you'll see that under the bridge. So when you're coming from University City heading west, you'll see right under the bridge the Great Rivers Greenway mural. And then
Right.
this is right behind that. Further down, you'll see the Olive Crossing signage in there.
I'm curious why they don't want there to be signage that tells people they're in Olivet. I mean, Olive Crossing, it's like Olive Markets in New City. It doesn't tell anybody that's coming into either town what town they're in. I don't
I
even
understand.
Yeah.
I'll get you a copy of their plan, and like,
Yeah.
again, holistically, it talks about that aspect of what
Yeah.
they're trying to do.
Okay.
Okay.
Jack, did you say the parapet height was 10 feet?
Yeah, it shows on the building elevations. Let me see if I have them shown here as well.
Jack, you
Want me to
got
go?
it. Sorry.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't know. It's probably not the clearest there, but on your physical plan set, the elevations show it to be,
Right on the bottom right.
yes, yeah. So it shows that that roof line, ends at 44 feet, but then has the parapet shown at 54. So between that roof line and the parapet, I'm assuming there's, 10 feet of, and when we were speaking with the developer, it seems like it's something in place for the elevator shaft as well as, something to encasing the staircase.
But that's not 10 feet all the way around. That's just in the.
No, it's only in that portion. Yeah, yeah. Yep.
Okay. What's the parapet height kind of around the perimeter, do you know?
There is none.
I am not sure off the top of my head. I will do some research and also maybe the developer has that answer as well.
And Jack, you could see it a little closer
Oh,
here.
yeah.
It's a 40-foot marker, so it's a couple of feet extra.
Mhm.
Yeah. That makes sense. I just thought 10 feet all the way around. I'm like,
Yeah, no, sorry, only in some portions. Yes, sir.
And I assume like if you look at the east elevation, the very top, it looks like an HVAC unit on the roof at the far right. That's I'm assuming the that's gonna cover that, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Will you be able to see any HVAC units up there? From the ground?
Or is that parapet just around the elevator hoist?
Well, also, I'd say most of the H.
Yeah, we actually, can I,
Yeah.
Well, let's kind of
Yeah, sorry.
address any more
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah.
I think they're good questions, but just
Okay.
see if there's anything else before I could have Jack sit down.
Okay. Those are the questions I had. Go
I
ahead.
have one more.
Mhm.
So what is the elevation at like 170 on the other side? We talked about what it was.
Sure. They have right here. It's kind of hidden in your packet. On the backside, they have the full cross section. It's a little farther past the hotel plans, the elevations. And it's showing that proposed grade drops roughly. It slopes off that top of the first floor where that first floor is at 589, and then it looks like it goes down to roughly I want to say like 587, 586 on that side, and then it drops again with the existing draining ditch that's there.
Okay. My other question is, has fire approved this plan?
Yeah, it's fire that wants in coordination in there. They wanted an access drive that went the full width of the building. And that was put on the eastern side to keep it away from the buffer. And then they needed that 3-point turnaround. So you'll see that T at the very end of the site plan, and I'll show you just a second.
Yep.
You were asking about 170 and the building, and that's the detail there. Okay, for those online, you should be able to see the site plan, the colored site plan on this.
Mhm.
Okay. And this is the authorized fire lane and then their turning area for the apparatus. So their request that satisfied not having a full loop around the building.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
You mentioned something originally about the courtyard and access points. Is that something that the developer will be able to address?
Yes, as well as within the access points for that, we were discussing the pedestrian plan, and Carlos has the am I on the wrong thing, Carlos? Or did you go back to the
Yes,
slide?
one
Sorry.
second, sir.
No worries, thank you. So with the intentions of like when this was first adopted, they were talking about doing a walkable, of course, development, but then having this established spine that goes down that western side of the development. So Mr. Yawis can speak on it regarding why, you know, the design choice has not reflected that. But then we would go down, maybe like when the future master pedestrian plans come into and with the commission's discussion, we can see how that's going to be addressed. But what was shown on the on the ordinance shows this spine going down the western side, and then the southwest lot is lot 6, where that hotel is, where that orange kind of is looping around down at the bottom. So it's kind of establishing this connectivity around the site as well. But then from the developer standpoint, you know, there are some concerns with privacy and having people going all behind the hotel and whatnot and having that. So he'll speak on that.
Jack, I'll note there are two components to the pedestrian plan. There's the purple that you see that is the primary, and then there's the orange that is the secondary. The intent of the purple is to minimize the pedestrian having to go over as many streets and aprons as possible. So the intent of having that primary spine run along the western edge of the development was to avoid it having to go on the other side of the street where you'll have aprons and cars crossing. And such. Once you get to lot 6, then it becomes secondary with a goal that somebody could walk a loop within that development in there. Here, the illustration kind of shows that you can go all the way around the building, but the intent here is that somebody can use this area for exercising or walking and without impeding or getting in the way of traffic as much as possible.
And I believe I got a question, but I believe it's already been addressed, and it's kind of like hours of operation. I know that's not part of our preview tonight, but do you remember what hours of operation are for outdoors loading, you know, equipment?
A very good question. It's something I'll have to take a look at if there's anything within the code in there, or if it's part of the agreement.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take a look.
All right, any other questions, comments for staff? Okay, thanks, Jack. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Greg Yowitz with Keat Olivet Gateway, the master developer, and with what is the entity for the hotel, which is known as KOG Hotel LLC. It's very creative, Keat Olivet Gateway abbreviated Hotel LLC.
Would you mind stating your address for the?
Oh, my home address is 6 Heather Hill Lane. So one, I'm excited to be here. Taken well longer than any of us wanted, but there was that little pesky pandemic thing that sort of messed up a whole lot of economic development around the country. And we were not immune to that, but we're here and that's the important part. So I want to thank you for your attention tonight. I'm going to try to answer as many of the questions as were put forth to the best of my ability. There will be some more information coming, and I'll explain why some of that information that isn't here and why. And then I look forward to our next conversation. So let's start with what's on the screen and the last thing that Jack mentioned, which is this pedestrian plan. So if you look at the drawing with Carlos's very well drawn purple and orange lines, as far as the purple lines go, that spine is mostly built. Currently, it stops at the southern end of the garage of the Clover Apartments, but is planned to extend all the way down to the hotel. That is our primary pedestrian path. In addition, if you look at everything to the right of that, we'll call it south of the other purple pinkish spine, our plan has significantly changed since 2019 when we presented this. So number one, south of the purple line is going to be a sit-down restaurant. South of that will be another sit-down restaurant. South of that will be the hotel. So as it relates to the orange concept, a couple of thoughts. Number one, we're going to try to keep the majority of the pedestrians on the east side. I'm sorry, on the west side, where we have the green space buffer and the sidewalk. Number two, we'll address how we can handle pedestrian in the restaurant lots when we bring those in for PCDC. But let's talk about the hotel. So I believe personally that what we're showing with the spine as well as what you see on the concept site plan, which is sheet. You look at, it's sheet 1, this one, where we have a connectivity sidewalk from the hotel building to the north, to the spine on the west side that runs north. That's going to be our primary pedestrian path. I personally do not believe it is a good idea to invite pedestrians to walk around the southern end of a hotel on a dead end that has people's homes in their backyards. And this ties back to a question you asked about the patio. So the patio on the west side is an amenity for the hotel guests. It is not a public patio. This is not a public space. We do not want the public there. That is for the guests of the hotel. And there'll be signage to that effect as well. And, again, we're at the preliminary design. Will there be a railing around the patio? We could certainly look at something like that. Something maybe decorative powder coated aluminum, 3 foot, again, something to demarc where this area is. And so while back in 2019, we had this lovely idea of a lot of cross pedestrian traffic, I do not believe that at 2 o'clock in the morning, we want someone wandering in the southern end of this hotel out of sight of police and fire. I mean, we'll have a full camera array on the exterior of the building for the safety of our guests. So I just want to address that pedestrian thing first. We believe in pedestrian access. We have that spine planned all the way through. It goes to Olive. We have the ramp. So for those of you that haven't been, because we just pulled the fences Tuesday, go check out the Lot 3 building. Don't go inside unless you have a hard hat on. But if you want to go to the property, the ramp is now down to Olive so that we can bring pedestrians up from Olive into our development. There'll be bike racks there where the fountain is going. They'll be able to cross on that spine diagonally and then take it all the way down to the hotel and vice versa, right? We want our hotel guests, if they're like, oh my God, I could, because it's a courtyard, it'll have little fridges, I could use a gallon of milk in my room. We want them to be able to walk up to Aldi. We don't want them to have to drive, right? We want to encourage outdoor activity. So as it relates to pedestrian pathway, that's our plan. And we think it's really, from a safety standpoint, it is the best plan. I just don't see, I personally don't see the public using this as an exercise track in a closed development all the way to the southern end. So that's number one.
Can you provide an updated, walkability plan or connectivity plan, kind of based on what you already, the new, with everything that's,
Yeah,
there?
I'll get you a new overall site plan,
yeah,
kind of like Carlos did, and
Yeah.
we'll color it in,
Yeah.
show you where those lines go. Yes.
and with the, kind of the future spaces, kind of this, where you're talking about the standalone restaurants, any way you could just kind of project and kind of shade it and know that's going to subject to change, but
Yes.
what your ideas are, for them.
I'll make it a noted deliverables. Give me 1 second. You. Got it?
And that kind of addressed my thought about the patio, was so that people weren't trying to cut through and get to the neighborhood behind. So
Right,
you
and-
addressed it. So yes.
Yeah, and the wall that we installed, or the barrier we installed, is 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
So could somebody jump it?
Or go
Of
around
course.
the far end or
They
something.
could go
off
around the far end.
right.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
We just, that's not, we're not looking for, we don't think there should be activity on the southern end.
Yep.
Okay, great. All right. So I'm going to start working through my list. So lighting, let's talk about lighting. So I haven't had a lighting plan done yet. I wanted to come talk to you all, make sure that it felt like where we have the site, the building on the site works. As Carlos mentioned, we ran this plan past fire to make sure it was safe for them. They had some comments. We adjusted the plan a few months ago about that. Given that, I will get a lighting plan developed, but a few things to understand. And as you know, I live here. We shield our lighting. We don't do lighting spillover. I was not aware until Carlos brought it to my attention. There was some spillover from the fixtures on the very top level of the Clover garage. And we're getting, I don't know if it's been installed yet or not. I can check with our team. But we were getting shade shields to put on those again to stop that from happening. Lighting for me is math. in as far as how the calculations are done. We will not spill light across the site. And to that end, and again, back to the safety thing, if Carlos, you go back to the sheet 1, when it comes to the area of the patio and the western side of the building, we're going to look for minimal lighting to provide a safe environment, not bright lighting. The majority of the lighting for this building will be on the highway side where the parking is. There'll be some lighting on the north end where there's some parking, but again, limited fixtures, completely shielded so that we do not spill light across onto our neighbors. We're not looking for big light cannons on this building, right? It's very visible from the highway, and there, frankly, other than for safety reasons, is no reason to have a bunch of light on the west side of that building at all. I think the most light you'll notice is if somebody opens a window and has their light on, or opens the shade. But then again, that's not gonna cast light out. It's the light inside of a hotel room. So, any questions about that? Next on the list. Again, on the patio, right? The patio is for the guests only. There's gonna be a few tables and chairs out there. There's not going to be a bunch of big events. This is not a hotel with a large banquet room. We have, if you go to sheet 2, one thing I am excited that we're doing on the left side there, you see those 3 meeting rooms, again, which face the highway side. Yeah, there we go. We are doing slightly.
Sorry, guys,
That's fine. I can wait for you.
but there should be a way to get closer.
You may have a zoom feature on the bottom right below the zoom box that's
With
hidden.
all the other things we have to keep up.
Got a lot going on the screen.
Yeah.
It was,
zoomed in?
hmm?
Do you need it zoomed in?
I don't, so it's just for you guys.
Yeah.
So anywho, what I was going to talk about is originally this prototype of Marriott actually has a few more rooms in it. We elected to eliminate a couple of rooms so that we could have more space for predominantly business meetings. There could be small family events there, right? You could see a small birthday party, bar mitzvah, thing like that. But again, from a standpoint of thinking about our neighbors to the west, we put those rooms facing the highway side so that in the event the doors open to the meeting room, the noise doesn't spill to our neighbors. So we were very conscious about where we placed those rooms. So I just want to comment about that. And again, for the benefit of the businesses in Olivet, if they need a meeting room and they've got people in town and have a little convention, it's about, if I'm not mistaken, it's about 1,200 square feet. So it can't hold a ton of people, but it's something we don't currently have in Olivet available to our business community, or again, to families or whoever. Any questions about that?
So are you having a restaurant in here?
So a courtyard, a prototypical courtyard requires the courtyard cafe. So that
Okay.
has to be a part, that's a mandated Marriott thing.
Like a hood and everything, like a full restaurant?
I don't actually know.
Okay.
I can get back to you on that one. It's whatever, my recollection is, the Marriott food is mostly microwaved. I don't think there's a fryer system. I've never had fried food in a Marriott courtyard,
There's a grill.
but there might be a grill. And
Yeah.
so, and again, if you look at our plan, the lounge and the Continental F&B, as it's called, again, it's hard to see. It is on the highway side. So if we're venting, it's going to get vented above that side of the building, either straight through to the roof or out the side, again, on the highway side of the building. The
The kitchen's on the other.
Yeah, I definitely don't.
food
like, I
prep
definitely
is in the
don't want
middle.
That you want to
actually.
go out to the front of the building.
What's that?
I wouldn't want that hood to go out or the vent to go out the front of. the
No, it
building.
likely would go straight up.
Yeah, it would have to go
Yeah.
straight up.
Yeah. Okay. Then let's see, patio we talked about. Sustainability. Sustainability kind of ties into the materials. Yes, this building has a substantial amount of EFS on it. That said, these are prototypical Marriott designs. This came, my partners with O'Reilly Hospitality, who are going to be the operators of the hotel for the partnership group, which includes me, Rusty Keeley, and Tim O'Reilly. They worked with Marriott to develop this. Marriott we're a franchisee. So we don't have tons of say in a lot of things. So this was what they told us they wanted to see. Can we modify the materials? We possibly could.
We can show them the one that's in Richmond Heights and Maryland Heights, where there's at least 30 to 50% brick.
Right.
And
Right.
I can get those up on, if you'd like, right now.
You can, but let me get to another point. The world has changed since those hotels were built. The cost of construction has skyrocketed. Some of you may know this. I'm sure Tim knows this. And I'm going to give you just a brief example. So we are finishing out the inside. We'll be applying soon for the permits for the inside of the Verizon store. The cost we budgeted 3 years ago for that is 100% more today. So can we do a little bit? Yes. If massive increase in masonry is required for this building, I'm just going to be completely honest, it may kill the ability to build this hotel. And I'm completely serious about this. The model of building, and again, you have an expert on your commission, the cost of construction is killing our industry. And so I don't believe EFS is a cheap material. I don't believe it looks cheap. I think what Marriott has spec'd for us is a good looking building. I need, again, this is, you all are going to tell me what you're willing to live with, but I am telling you right now, we have significant concerns about the economic viability of this project if we have to substantially increase the amount of either hard surface material or stone on this building. Because as Tim can tell you, it will drive the cost. So again, I know what guidelines are. I know what percentages are. We have a lot of EFS on our Lot 3 building, and I think it looks spectacular. So
Carlos, you can put all 4 faces up.
Sure.
I think you have a drawing that shows them.
Greg, can we see one of these? Have they built this model somewhere?
I'll ask. I'll
Yeah,
find
We'd
out.
like to see real pictures of
Yeah,
what
let me see if I
what
can get
these
that.
are. Yeah.
I mean, I really like the north elevation, the west elevation, I mean, looks better, but it seems like that east elevation just,
Again, there's probably some things we could do. And even if it's in the color scheming and changing of some of the look, where you break up the mass of for what I guess is the southern half that has that predominant white block. I just want to level set. If it's like, hey, Greg, this east side needs to be brick, it could kill the project.
yeah, well, you need to do something more, I think, with that. I'm not the architect on the board, but I look for other commission members, to kind of weigh in on this.
Yeah, and I'll
let
report
me know
back to
the
my
thoughts.
team that the east elevation needs work, without question.
I would say also maybe different kinds of fiber cement panels maybe mixed in there or something. Maybe more different materials instead of an EFS wall, maybe is what we're looking for more.
Okay.
I'm struggling with the idea that we want something more, but are not giving them very good direction in terms of, are we talking about just breaking up the white or cream as it is? Is it trying to get something different than the box look? I think we have to send them away with more direction, or they're just going to be spinning and
Yeah.
then throwing something back at us, and then we go at them again. I mean,
You're
you know,
exactly right, Peter.
I appreciate the issue with where we are as a country in terms of construction materials being ridiculous at this point. So I empathize. I guess one of my questions is this the prototype for all new builds right now in this day for Marriott, or is this been scaled back? Has it been beefed up? That history I don't really know, and I'm afraid I must have missed it if it's in the materials. So when you say you want something more, what does that mean? And I'm talking to my fellow planning commission members, not you, the speaker. I struggle because it looks very boxy to me too, but I'm not an architect and I don't know what it is that is making it not feel great. If it's just because that white space is not broken up at all, those 4 stories, especially, But I
And
think
if-
we need to send them home with some more direction than what we're saying. We just don't think it's enough, whatever that means.
No, I think you're right, Petrie, but we're not architects, and we're not the architects
Right.
of the project. But, you know, if I look at this east elevation, I like the right side better than I do the left. You know,
Well, and that's precisely what I'm saying is like that has broken up that white
Right.
space, and maybe it's just a matter of, you know, bumping out different room. I don't know. I don't know the answer. And again, we're not necessarily architects, but I think we have to be more critical. And I think saying we really like the right side, but the left
Would you
side is
suggest,
leaving
Peter?
us wanting. I think that's what we should be saying.
what do you,
If
what do you
that's
suggest?
what everybody's thinking. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
We can't hear you. He was asking whether it's the quality of the material or the color or the look. You know, that was a question that from an audience member that chimed in without being recognized. So,
So let me answer a couple of
Yeah,
questions that, so number one, is it Petrie?
Yes.
Or say right. So Petrie, I can't answer specifically about Marriott's design because the architect with my partner who interfaces with Marriott couldn't be here tonight and their
Okay.
offices are in Springfield. So he couldn't.
I assume that there's a look though that they try to
There-
achieve.
There is a look. And if you, for example, if you go look at the courtyard on Hanley and 64, personally, I hate that color scheme because it's yellow. And I'm not a big fan of yellow. Ours are not, this is not a yellow, to my knowledge, like they used there. I don't like what they did there. I don't just, personally, I'm not an architect either. However, I've been doing real estate development work for 35 years. When I hear mix in more materials, break up the face, that actually does tell me something and I can communicate that back. Because I've done this for hotels and multi-story buildings for decades. So I will talk to my team about trying to introduce maybe some fiber cement panels, break up that mass, especially on the southern end of the east elevation. I mean, the west elevation actually is more broken up because it's got multiple north, up and down breaks in it. The north and south elevations are relatively small, if you will, in mass and size compared to the others. But I actually, Petrie, I sort of hear what I think I need to do.
Okay. Can you just, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the screen and not the hard copy. The
Yeah.
lime green that I'm seeing on the PowerPoint, is that represent something or is that just to give you depth? Or are we talking about lime green something or other?
it's a lime
It
green
is.
accent.
It is actually, and again, these are colored images.
Yeah, I understand.
is-
I understand. I
It
just
is
wanted
a
to be
Marriott,
clear.
it is a
I didn't-
Marriott green color. I'm not
Okay.
quite sure it's lime.
Okay.
I can find, I would
Okay.
get the Pantone numbers.
It was just a
for you.
quick question. I'm not
Yeah.
making any comment about color necessarily. It's more about massing and how you can minimize the look of that big.
Yeah, and I'll try to get Pantone numbers and samples for our next meeting so you can see what the colors we're proposing are.
I
and
think
what
that
they
would be
look
very
like
helpful.
in reality.
Yeah.
Great.
If at all possible too, on the east elevation, the left-hand side where the first floor is ephes, can that be a more, of a siding panel, kind of like the west elevation or, even your north and south elevation? Primarily, you have, those panels all the
Yep.
way kind of across the first floor.
All right, so yeah, can we panel floor one of the east face south of where it stops?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
It could be a little bit broken up, kind of like you have on the right-hand side,
Yeah.
but far majority,
Yeah. It's a lot of mass there that needs to be broken up.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. Okay, great.
I assume you'll be able to have your architect, here next time,
Yes, I told him when he called and said he couldn't make it, I said, this is a preliminary meeting. There's no action tonight. I'm going to have a whole bunch of work for you to follow up on and do anyway. So this just worked better and he didn't have to drive 4 hours each way to get here.
Makes sense, makes sense.
And on
Okay.
that, and sorry to interrupt, but he's more than welcome to attend on Zoom. But secondly, that kind of
And
delays.
you know, I completely spaced.
It delays the process and now kind of puts pressure on us because there is a timeline. We're introducing this to the commission in there. This isn't something we haven't talked about. I'll put that out so the commission is aware in there. And the issue is, you know, the city and chapter 428 was written back in 2012, I think, is that EFS is considered, first we started with as an accent material, then we moved it to a secondary material in there. And I think there are some points in the code specifically that first floors shouldn't be EFS. And good example is like the shopping centers that you'll see up on Olive, and their cars hit them, people kick them, and it's falling apart. Anything that's on a first level or accessible to a vehicle or person, they can take a big chunk. So yeah, take a chunk right off of it. And there, and the goal is, you know, I could understand the aspects of the cost and all that, but EFS for a base, or in this case, like on the east elevation where it is the principal material. I mean, it is very, you know, the fiber cement is very secondary to that. Usually the preference would have been reversed. But I think whether there are other alternatives, it doesn't, we understand about the costs that we made the change. And I think it was something that you assisted us in converting, adding that, you know, everything doesn't need to be brick. That we allow the fiber cement, the Alcoa, I think, or Alcoloca, or I forgot the.
Aluka bond.
Yeah, and.
Oh, there's Aluka bond, there's
you know, that
Nichiha,
we've
there's.
introduced a whole bunch of other materials, but we kept EFS at bay as a secondary type of material.
Carlos, is that typical? Because I mean, my experience was that it is used quite a bit, and so I'm wondering, is that fairly typical for cities to use it as a secondary material rather than a primary material?
It's hard to say. It depends on the city's values per their comprehensive plan. Ours is that we would prefer to see it as an accent use. And then again, you know, considering costs, we moved it up to secondary. But we would not want to see it as a principal use.
So are you telling us in not so subtle terms that this is too much use in this for
This is
these
a lot of
drawings?
EFS.
Sorry, I hate to put you on the spot, but you
No,
know, I think we
understand,
need to
but yes.
know.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I got it. Okay. Another question
So,
was.
Can I make a statement real
okay.
fast? So I agree with Carlos. I think no matter what, on the first floor, there should not be EFS without some kind of wainscoted stone or fiber cement board or something that protects that building. No question about that. And I also think there's a difference in how you use EFS. And if it's just a flat panel, if you go to my house, I have EFS on it. It's just flat panel like that. That's a lot different. And if you break it up in different ways and do different things, it could look a lot better than what the old EFS looked at. So I just want to make sure everybody's kind of aware there's different ways to do it too as well.
Yeah, and EFS, again, since the change of the code and making it secondary in 2012, the way you apply EFS has improved. It's just, you know, it is still subject to damage. So yes, I completely agree. First floor's got it. We got to take care of the first floor. But yeah, I mean, you can tell Steve and whoever he consulted with at Marriott, and why I didn't think about Zoom and telling him he could make Zoom. That's on me. You know, they break it up. Again, what that green color is, I'm not sure. But again, it's meant to break the face up. The windows break the face up. But yes, let me see what I can do to enhance more fiber cement and clean up that first floor. As far as sustainability, I'm going to give you somewhat of a gray area answer, but Marriott has requirements on sustainability. Whatever they require us to do, we will be doing. But I can tell you that all the lighting in buildings now is LED, right? The building will be insulated to the current code, which is, I don't know if I call that sustainability, but it's energy efficiency. We'll have the right materials in the roof for that type of insulation. And you can see this, if it's hard to zoom in, but hotel rooms are generally heated and cooled, because there was a question earlier about rooftop units. The rooms are heated and cooled what's called a PTAC unit. It's a through the wall unit. So there won't be a whole lot of equipment on the roof. The units are actually mounted inside the walls of the building. So it's a lot of smaller air conditioners versus big, loud ones on the roof. And then, other, as far as sustainability goes, we have issues that we have required to comply with MSD as to biofiltration, which really is an entire project level issue. So if you look at our large basin on the corner, and Carlos had the drone shot of it earlier, there's 2 stages there. So we're actually using their biofiltration requirements that include sand and gravel and a certain type of material to filter the water and clean it, if you will, before it reaches the storm system. The project itself has a master planned MSD approved detention system that includes underground and above ground basins. So, I will get information on Marriott's sort of sustainability program in what is used inside to furnish the hotel. So I'll get you that as well. Then one of the questions that was asked was about what happens between our property and I-170. And so some of that has to do with what we can work out with MoDOT. And there is an area where there's fencing along our property line and MoDOT's property. So some of it is accessible, some of it is not. As you drive down 170 south of our project, you see a lot of times the overhanging trees hanging onto the highway because that's within their right of way. There you go. So you see the wall and the fence, and there's a huge drop of a storm, basically
Drainage ditch.
drainage ditch is the word I was looking for. So unless they allow us, we can't maintain their property. We won't be maintaining our property. At the same time, from this cross section, you can also see that the drainage ditch sits well below their wall, and we will be landscaping our side of that drainage ditch because I don't want our customers looking into a drainage ditch, nor do we want anybody falling into a drainage ditch. So I've got to assess that once we get the ground cleared, determine if we need to put some sort of safety railing there or not. I have to move about 10,000 cubic yards of dirt off the site first. And then once we get down to grade, we'll have a better handle on what the right application along that drainage ditch is. So that's to be determined based on how the grading works out once we clear the lot. Some of you have been on a long time, some of you haven't. A few things I want to mention. So about where the P is in the word proposed grade, running north and south along the highway in between where our hotel building is going and the highway, MSD installed another public relief line. So for many years in Olivet and New City, there were issues with sewer backups. 2 projects have been done since I started this project, the 82nd Street sewer and the Lindley extension. The Lindley extension, Carlos, can you go to sheet 1?
This one there.
Yep, that one. So pretty much so if you see the dashed line, see where the fire lane is? See where it says fire lane 20 feet width? So there's a dashed line running north and south in the drive lane. It's about there. It doesn't turn like it does on the drawing, but if you imagine it runs up the highway at about 28 feet of depth, MSD put in a relief line. Lucky me, that's likely going to cause us to have to pier the hotel for stability because that's going to drive our costs up because they put this relief line in to deal with flooding that was happening to the south of us. Where the circle is in the drawing is where the 35 kilovolt power lines are that we buried that used to cross the site. What's also happening there, so you see that sewer, the line that goes underneath the highway where Carlos has the pointer right now, east to west, that is the sewer extension. So it comes from the north and from the south, dumps in at about 30 feet of depth and heads underneath 170. So there's a lot going on utility wise in that area of well below ground. So we're gonna, again, once we scrape the site off, I want to look at what's going on in that basin. And you can see, again, to the right of where it says fire lane, that gap starts to open up between our property line and the road bed. Again, that's MoDOT property. If there's a way for us to maintain it, I'm interested in maintaining it because I want it to look good for our property. I don't know if it's accessible yet. We'll have to figure that out once we get down to grade.
When will that be?
We're gonna hopefully start moving dirt in the next 60 days. We have about 1,100 truckloads of dirt to find a home for.
So if you can list off the options of what you're talking about, what would happen if, depending on what you anticipate finding?
Well, if you go back to the cross section.
Mhm.
So I believe that at the end of our parking lot, there may be a precipitous drop. If that's the case, we're gonna need to rail it.
Okay, okay.
Carlos, can you go back to the first page? Is that where is that fence on this page and on the property line for 170?
So I believe it's the heavy black dash line, which is our property line, but I can't guarantee it from this drawing.
So right up against the fire lane, let's call it, that's where the.
That's
fence
our
is
property line.
That's where that fence is, right on that?
I think so. I'm not sure if there's a fence there, right? It's hard to, I haven't been back that far since we started
Okay.
backfilling dirt.
Yeah.
And I've seen it I was there earlier in the development before the dirt started getting piled up.
And for those online, if you can hold just a second, because we'll pick up some pictures here. We'll give us 1 second here.
Your drone might help with that.
Well, and we were inducting, yeah, where is view?
Top menu.
Oh, there we go. Sorry.
Let's give it time.
So are you saying that the property line is not the 2-1 long line, that it's actually where the MSD line is? Is that what you were saying?
The heavy black line should be the property line.
Okay.
The light dashed line to the left of that,
Yep.
that's where the approximate location of where that MSD relief line is.
Okay. Got it.
On your new drawings, can you make sure you show those, that fence line and that wall that we're talking about?
Yeah, let me find the survey and
Yeah, I'm not gonna do one of these, right? Yeah, apologize. I mean, you'll hear me yelling at Jack, so sorry. So I'll go back to that aerial if that's okay. Sorry here, and bear with me those online, because you're probably not seeing anything yet.
Mm-mm.
Drone was fine today.
there you go.
So it won't let me get a closer view. But as we walked along here, there is a drop in elevation.
We can't see it. We can't see it.
Yeah, share screen.
Yes. Thanks, Petrie.
Sorry.
No.
Hmm.
All right, here. So you can see the sign here and in there. And here, I mean, as you get closer and further towards the south, on the right-hand corner, the lower right-hand corner of the monitor there, it goes up a good 10 feet or so. I mean, it was.
You
Yeah,
say that fence is 10 feet? Is that what you just said?
Down here, over here, you have a retaining wall that's roughly about 10 feet in height before you get to the surface pavement of the interstate. Let me see if the other one, bear with me.
So Greg, I'll be very interested to make sure that nobody can walk over into the highway, obviously.
Really? Me too.
So that's what I'm really getting at
Yeah.
in this whole
Again,
conversation,
right.
so.
100%,
Yeah.
right? Once we've got it down to grade, once we assess what's going on there, I think you all know how I've been building stuff in this city for 20 years. We will not allow there to be an unsafe condition. There are massive grade changes on this lot, as you know. And some of them happen within the same lot, so.
Okay, so right here, you can see this collection here. This represents the north end of the hotel. It kind of aligns pretty close with these three here in there, and you can see the drop of the retaining wall of the ramp there.
But as you go farther south, in some areas, it gets closer to highway grade.
So highway's above.
Right, it comes up toward the highway.
Yeah.
Because remember, some of that is the dissension from the ramp going over Olive and then coming back down and keeping the pavement up high on the highway.
Yeah.
So it looks like as you get closer to the sign, you're almost.
And we may be
I don't
close to
recall
grade
if
down
it
there.
was close to grade or not. I do have pictures.
Yeah, I feel like that my property sign that you're pointing at is actually above the roadbed
That's what I remember.
by like at least 4 or 5 feet. I may try my drone skills for the next meeting and bring in another video and we can look at it more closely. But Tim, to answer your question, we will ensure that there is not a safety condition, which goes back to one of the other points, which is I don't want pedestrians back there at night. There is no valid reason someone should be back there, period. So, okay, so we covered 170. We talked about lighting plan. I'll get you some stuff on sustainability. I'm going to look at, with our team on the materials and certainly without question beefing up the east side. We talked about the patio. We talked about the pedestrian plan, talked about controlling the lighting. And again, Carlos mentioned this earlier. We have a maximum fixture height allowed under the master development ordinance. That said, for this parking lot, if that height is used, I see that predominantly being used on the east side where the majority of the parking is. Again, we're not going to flood our neighbors with lights. There's not a lot of reason to have, we need safe parking lighting on the northwest corner of the lot. It will not be,
But the courtyard, what kind of lighting you're gonna have for that?
there'll be some
Yeah, yeah. But
sconce
what
lighting.
that is.
Yeah, but we're not looking at light cannons. We're looking at decorative sconces that will not cast light at the homes.
Hmm.
So, but again, I'll get you more detail on that as well.
Your main entrance, if you would look at the cross or the east view,
Yeah,
can't really see it, but I'm sure it's just the way that.
it's just deceptive, right? It's the deceptive view of the colors, because if you look at the top down that you're looking at,
Yeah, it's pretty pronounced that.
yeah, there's a portico there.
Yeah.
So one thing that I had trouble with, and I went back and forth in Carlos with this, trouble from an engineering standpoint, to get a cross section of this building, to get you guys a cross section, where my civil kept cutting the building from one of the patios of elevation of the neighbor to the west in Stoneleigh. If you cut it at an angle, it totally distorts where the building mass. So here we go. So he kept having to recut the cross section because it made it look like the portico you can see that sticks out, but that's not mass. Right. I had him draw to the extent, and that's why I had him label portico. There's not mass that far to the east, and therefore not as much mass to the west. It's the maximum extent. I had him cut the thickest section. So it doesn't mean that the mass of that building runs that width on all sides. So I just want to, when you have a building on an angle and you're shooting a cross section at an angle, you get some mathematical distortion. So. Other than that, I mean, I'm happy to answer more questions. I think I covered all the topics that were on the list on the screen that you talked about, but if I missed any, I'm happy to answer those.
I got one other couple of things.
Yep.
Parking. How you doing on parking? What's required, what's needed?
So parking wise, right now, I think there's about 60 some odd spaces shown on the drawing. We are planning, as with our overall project, we have a cross parking agreement between pretty much all of the lots. So we have, for example, about 30, I think it's 32 public spaces on the first floor of the Clover Garage. That is meant as overflow for either Aldi or the tenants in Lot 3 or the sit-down restaurants or the hotel. And so as we develop those two restaurants, I have, waiting for a lease for the first one. Once we set that one, really a number of factors, but I think primarily the parking is going to dictate the size of the second restaurant. Because we have to watch how much total parking we have available in the industry, hotel-wise. They are moving toward 0.7 spaces per room, which would be about 100 spaces. Given our proximity to the airport and Clayton, it is my personal belief, and again, we're going to do what you all require and what Marriott requires, and Marriott's probably going to require more than you all do. I believe this is going to be a highly Ubered and lifted facility and not going to have a ton of cars. At the same time, we have to make sure that in the case we're wrong, we have enough parking. So as of right now, we've got, there you go, 65 spaces on the lot, and 65 will be provided cross-access and cross-parking to the lots to the north. Again, do I think we'll use them all? I don't.
Right.
I don't at all.
Right.
But safety first. And you got a few for employees.
I know I would like to see kind of some cross sections that are to scale, rather than that 2-to-1,
So that's that's the challenge, is given the height and given the distance,
Yeah.
that drawing becomes illegible.
On a PDF, just something we can see it,
What, Chairman, and I think it was something I was going to comment on. Appreciate what the engineer did doing the full site, but I think what isn't well articulated and it's hard to visualize is just sections. The building's there. We know that the building's wall, so you don't have to run it all the way across the building. But if we could get about 3 along here and 3, along here up to the building,
Yeah.
it's.
So
just
You-
so we can see.
you mean from west? I'm lost at
Mhm.
what, because
Yep.
the mouse keeps moving. Just tell me, could you, one of you mark up take and just email it to me?
Yes,
Just show me what you want and I'll give it to the engineer down the
and
road.
we did something similar with the development across the street where we asked them to do multiple cross sections to kind of give a visual illustration, especially those that are nearby in there. And in this case, the concerns regarding 170 and that wall. I mean, it's kind of it's going to be a unique space.
Oh, you mean because in the area of, it's pretty much where that circle is. But again, and you have to understand, do you have the top down of where this cross section goes through? If not, I've got it
I
too.
may have it from the old plan set. Hold on one second.
There it is.
Yes,
That's it. I think that's the F cross section.
bear with me one second because I'm,
No, that's,
all right.
that's the old one.
But
that-
it was right around, this is the cut that,
Is that the cut from the current drawing?
mhm.
Okay, yeah.
The layout's kind of changed a bit, but this kind of reflected where that cut. And again, I appreciate that they gave the full cut, but what we're looking for is from here to here, from here to here, from here to here, and then from here to here, from here to here, from here to here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, again, these were the cross-section types that we used for the master development plan originally, so that's why I went with those. But yeah, if you want, whatever, no problem.
Is there any way we can get an idea of what it's gonna look like from the residents? Like a rendering, a rough rendering, things like that.
Rendering of what, I mean,
If they're on the back porch, what it's gonna look like.
so if you look at the cross-section, it really depends where they stand. It's which house, so this is where it gets complicated on the angle. It depends which house, where they stand and what direction they're looking.
Yeah.
So, as you can see in this one, and it's hard, there you go. So for this particular house, if they're looking straight across, looking straight out, like if I'm looking at you, you will see the hotel above your head.
Yeah,
If you look up, you'll see the hotel.
right.
So,
That's what I was saying.
I mean, getting a perspective 3D model of that is going to be, I don't know how we're going to do that. I don't know. Which,
And,
I
and
guess
there's
I'm
a
not sure what you're looking
wall
for.
there, right? I mean, there's a wall there.
There's an 8-foot fence there, yes. The closer the resident gets to the backyard, the less they're going to see. The
Right.
farther away they are, they're going to see it.
Right.
But I don't know how I can produce, unless producing perspective views of a 3D model from each person's home. I mean, is it doable? Sure. It would cost me $25,000 in 3D modeling
We
time.
don't want to do that.
Yeah,
No,
so-
That's not.
Yeah, so that's, I don't know how to
But-
get you
but-
what you're looking for.
Well, see if there's an easy way to do it, to get that idea, to see, so we can see.
From each house?
At least one, the one directly behind it. I would love to get all three, if possible, if you can find.
Let me
a
see.
down and dirty way to
I'll see if there's a
do it.
way we can do it.
Yeah,
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 because,
yeah.
but here's my concern.
Right,
If I do it, it's computer generated.
right.
If it's computer generated and it turns out not to be accurate, I want to, if I can do it, I will deliver it with the caveat,
Yeah.
it might not be right.
Right,
Because what I don't want is to anybody to think that I misled and said, this is exactly what's going to happen.
right.
So that's where I get concerned is,
Basically, I mean, they're freebie software, so you can kind of impose it just to get an idea.
well, again, you can kind of do it, but what my concern is I don't want to represent something I
So
can't
it's kinda
guarantee is
restricted
100%
to
accurate.
use. You can't, apparently they block Google Street, so you can't get a good view in there, but that would be,
Yeah, I mean, look, I think what you can take, at least from again, my thought is, think about the people on the north side of Stoneleigh that abut the Clover. They actually are higher up, right? So they see one less story, give or take. But to my knowledge, the only complaints we've received from the north side of Stoneleigh involve the one parking lot light on the north side of the garage. I've not been made aware of any visual complaints, any noise complaints, any lighting complaints. Again, save that one issue.
Yeah, yeah.
So again, my concern with computer generating something, but here, there you go. So in this portion, right, the hotel's going to be down near the grade of the highway. And what you can also see there is that tree canopy is almost visually impenetrable.
That's kind of what I'm trying to get at.
Right.
Is kind of how that tree canopy affects the view and, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, what I can see if my guys can do, this will require permission. We'll need to go into the backyards of people's homes and take photos looking east toward the site. If that's doable, but I'm not going to go trespass on people's backyards to take photos. Yeah.
Trespass, but we could see if that's
I'll see if
possible.
I'll see if it's doable with a degree of certainty. Again, that'll
Yeah.
right.
We want it accurate.
and I think,
we don't-
Chairman, there's only 4 houses directly behind the
Right.
property. Of those 4, 3 are within that footprint
Right.
in there. And I think there's somebody here that would have the concern that would be willing to offer
Yeah.
the ability to take a picture from back there.
Yeah. Again,
Okay.
I'll
cool.
call Mark, get in his backyard, get some photos, and I think it was Mark that said that was you, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And again, I'll give it to my 3D guys and say, can this be done with a degree of certainty that it's reasonably accurate?
Right.
That's all I'm worried about.
Yeah.
I just don't want to get beat up in a year and say, this is not what,
I get it. I get
Okay, what else?
it. I don't think I have anything else. Anybody else on the commission have anything? Brian, do you want to interject based on your past knowledge of this project?
Not at this time, under assistance.
Yeah, yeah. All right, thanks.
I got, the HVAC in the room. Are you gonna be able to see that from the outside?
So
Yeah.
you can see a metal grate,
Okay.
right? It's a perforated grate.
I'd love to see the room, a picture of somebody's room with it on the outside of it.
Carlos,
What
if
you're-
you go to Google Earth and just go to the courtyard on Hanley, you can see what I'm talking about.
Bear with me 1 second for those online.
Just so instead of doing it later, we can knock it out right now. You can see what we're talking about.
And speaking of Google Zoom, we're definitely gonna be interested in what you're gonna do to separate the highway from you, because that was just a guardrail that was on the south portion of it.
Right. Again, that's,
So-
I got to look at where our property line is and what MoDOT will let me do.
But we'll be very interested in that, obviously.
See, they look like, you see those rectangular horizontal vents? Not the square one. The square one is an exhaust vent, probably for a laundry room, but below all the windows, that's what they are. Blower to the side of the windows. Those are the PTAC units.
Is that covered in EFS?
No. Those
Those
are,
are cement.
no, those are probably metal grates actually that,
No,
But
I'm talking
that
about the
is the
facade, the facade.
oh, that's EFS.
Mhm.
I just don't like that color scheme.
Can you show those on the drawing?
They're on the drawing. If you look at the rendering on,
You mean P-TEC, right?
yeah, so if you look at page, the elevation page,
Yeah.
you can see them. They're there.
I didn't see them.
Yeah, they're very
Yeah,
small.
I got it.
but yeah.
Again, because we're trying to make them blend into the wall, because we don't want to call them out, but
I see 'em now.
they're all there. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's what they are. They're effectively air grills. No, you had two things. Was
No,
something else?
no, the other one was
The
make
highway.
sure the highway, yeah.
Yeah, again, I need to talk to MoDOT. You know, when we made the deal for the detention basin, we agreed to extend our fencing. I agreed to cut the space between our basin and the on-ramp
Mhm.
is MoDOT, that hill.
Okay,
As part of our lot 3 development, I'm having irrigation lines run there because I don't want to wait for the MoDOT grass trucks to come cut that hill in front of my basin. So we're going to water it and we're going to cut it.
okay.
So I'm not looking for that to continue
Right.
what they've been doing. Cool.
Okay, thank you.
You got it?
Appreciate it.
Sure.
Okay, at this point in time, we'll take on some public comments that are related to this agenda item. Yeah, come on. You're up. As a reminder, make sure the mic's on, which it is. And state your name and address for the record.
Hello, Mark Minton. I'm 115 Stoneleigh Towers, and I'm also a trustee of Stoneleigh Towers neighborhood. Guys, thanks for all you're doing. This is tough work, trying to hold development of this scale to rules that we have in place. I appreciate all your efforts. First off, thank you for addressing the light spillover. We did bring that to attention about 6 months ago now, April 4th. Thank you for the help. There haven't been a lot of complaints because we did address our complaints before the development, and that's when we spoke our mind. We have great neighbors. Everybody's a really good part of this community. So there haven't been a lot of complaints. We have 3 wonderful neighbors from the Clover that walk through the neighborhood. It's been great. I do want to share a few things with you guys. The plastic wall that's the barrier between the commercial development and the residential development, that's built on a railroad. So there used to be a railroad that went there, and the railroad was built up. And so the ground is being built up quite a bit to get to the new ground level that the hotel is going to build on. That's a bit frustrating for the neighbors to digest, but it's what the plan is. I want to talk a little bit about the changes from September of 2019 when this got approved and where we are now. There was going to be a 6-story office building next to this. And so aesthetically, it all kind of fit. If we're not going to have that 6-story office building, we're going to have a big hotel. And we spent a lot of time talking about the visibility of this is the entry to Olivet. I would just ask you to take a step back and say, is this still what we want? Does this fit? Then the other thing I want to bring to you guys' attention, I brought some sheets for you. This is from the preliminary work that was provided in 2019. There were tons of trees that were going to buffer this development from the residential neighborhood. I don't see anything in the plan. My question is, what happened to the trees? Right? So there are a bunch of trees in Stoneleigh Towers in our backyards. My house is one of them. Most of the trees are locust trees that are beyond life expectancy, and they're falling, they're dying. So that buffer is not going to be there forever. And as I told you earlier, it's a railroad. I can't plant evergreens. They're not going to live there. So I can't protect myself. Need you guys to help. Second page that was given. Talk about trees in your initial proposals back in 2019. You're going to have required 6,392 landscape units. The actual proposed was 11,000. Guys, we're falling short. I don't see how please don't skip this stuff is what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Because the evergreens are very important. When you have window units, that's noise, right? There is a purpose for a proper buffer of this type of project.
You kind of,
I'm over.
yeah.
Okay.
If you
Thanks,
don't-
guys.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. If there's something else that you want to just quickly add, I'd be more than happy. All right, good. Anyone else out in the audience? No? Okay.
Chairman, there are a couple of residents online. I don't know if anybody would like to speak, but if you could show raise your hand regarding the Olive Crossing Lot 6 development. Going once, going twice. All right, Chairman.
All right. Well, thanks for the comments. Appreciate it. Maybe we can get some updated landscaping, plans. Yeah.
Always have to lower the microphone.
Yeah.
Yes, I will get you a landscape plan. It's not completed yet. But that'll come in. We will be, for a number of reasons, heavily landscaping. One, it's required. Two, we try to be good neighbors. Three, Marriott requires it. So yeah, a hardy landscape plan is coming, just as the landscaping started to be installed on lot 3, which I think you're going to be happy with. So,
And maybe kind of.
what am I dodging? I've said there's going to be a
Okay,
landscape
hold on,
plan.
guys.
We're going
Hold
to
on,
meet
hold on,
the
hold on,
requirements.
Stop. We're getting side conversations. They're not recorded, so we got to be careful with that. Okay. So,
As I said, I will be providing a detailed landscaping plan that will meet or exceed,
very
at
good.
least meet the requirements of the city of Olivet. We very lovely, as all of my landscaping is at Price Crossing and at Lot 3,
Yeah.
Aldi controlled theirs. Clover has great landscaping. I'll end with just one sort of comment. Once we get this hotel done and we get the 2 restaurants done and factoring Price Crossing and Olive Crossing will represent about $130 million of development in the city of Olivet. And I say that because I'm really excited that I could make this happen in our city. I live here. You hear me say this all the time. I lived here for over 30 years. One of the greatest things I see is when people call me and they say, I drove past your building today. That new retail building looks awesome. When are the restaurants going to open? Right? I was impressed with how Carlos showed in the video, the screen wall we did with the Olive Crossing letters. I actually was wowed by how well that came out. It's a heavy gauge metal. It's going to last forever. There's going to be a fountain behind it. It's going to have lights in it that we can maybe even, I'm getting a DMX controller so we can, maybe when the Blues are winning, we can make it blue, and the Cardinals are winning, we can, right? We're putting in the extras to make everybody in the city proud and generate amazing amounts of sales tax and property tax for this city. So
Right.
we're getting close to the finish line. It took way longer than I anticipated. But yes, there will be a very nice landscape plan for the courtyard.
Okay, and I would love just to, if you can compare and take a look at this.
So I'm not sure what that is.
It's, Mark, if you don't mind coming up to the dais and,
So in 2019, that's what you shared with us. See all those trees you're gonna put there? There's your scale. This is what you told us you were gonna do. That's what's required. That's what
Mark,
you're gonna do.
if you could get closer
Oh,
to the mic.
oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not questioning the integrity of his landscape. Landscaping's beautiful. What I'm talking about is the buffers. It's very unique to introduce a hotel to a community. He got his approval by saying all the right things, and now he's not fulfilling on everything he said 6 years ago.
Well, and that's what
Very
we're gonna,
different story.
we'll take a look at what he's
I
kind of,
appreciate, yes, so I'm looking at this drawing.
yeah.
And I'll make a couple of comments. Number one, in this drawing, the hotel building is substantially closer to the property line. We are much farther away now. Number two, this was a 5-story hotel in 2019 and is now a 4-story hotel. It's less mass, it is smaller, and it has a different, this is a figure 7 configuration. I actually have more room along the barrier to put, we haven't actually delivered a landscape plan to compare this to. So
That's what I would like to
yes,
do.
we'll
Let's
get
get
there.
apples and apples. Let's kind of see what's been done. And make sure we're.
Like I
all
said,
on the
we'll
same
do it.
page.
You guys can see that there's no space for an evergreen tree in that design.
Yeah, we'll take a look.
We'll
Let's see
reserve
what-
judgment until we actually see the
Yeah.
landscape plan. Your comments have been noted.
I get
Both
it.
of you.
I heard you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
There you go.
And with regard to the size, the lights. from the
Listen,
fourth-story
listen,
building-
you've had your opportunity to speak. I appreciate it.
I just have to take it. I'll take it.
Thank you.
All right, good. Okay, thanks everybody for the comments, and the presentation, and, you got kind of the list of things that you want to take, that we're gonna need. So I appreciate it. What's that? Yes. And Carlos is gonna get you some, locations of the cross sections. And is there anything else that you guys?
We just
need?
want to make sure we're trying to stay in a schedule that's, amenable both to the city and the developer. The next meeting, I believe, is November 6th. We would like to have an opportunity to post anything that's revised, so the community has an opportunity to see it at least a week prior to that schedule. So, keep us posted. Let me know on that as we get closer to the holiday season. It becomes difficult to ensure that, we can keep a consistency on those meeting dates in there. So.
All right, good. All right, thank you. All right. I know this is that went longer than we needed, but that's sometimes the way things go. So we'll move on now to item B, and this is 820 North Price Road. Jack? Stretch your legs.
Feels like forever since I've been up here. Welcome back, have a good evening again, Commission. Before you tonight again is 820 North Price. You guys may be familiar with this project because it had been before you earlier. However, this serves as a whole new submission entirely. So before you is the proposed accessory structure project for 820 North Price with a detached garage that is about 969 square feet, a pool that is counted at half at 139 square feet, pool decking that's at 130 square feet, and a covered walkway, where we're going to get clarification from the petitioner if they're still going down the route with the solar panels. I know that the walkway size has actually been decreased, so it may not be able to accommodate the panels. However, the walkway is still part of the project. We just want to get the clarification from the petitioner. Just to clarify this, the accessory structures that are shown there in green are permitted by code administratively. That's not something that we would act on. We're solely here for this detached garage now. Regarding the commission discussion items, we're going to talk about, the garage is in excess of area. It's over the 600 square feet, which would be allowed on a lot that is between 10,000 and 20,000 square feet. 820 North Price is roughly 15,000 to 15,752 square feet. So it falls between that 10,000, 20,000 limit. Also the height of the structure, it's in excess of that 15 feet height that's allowed for detached garage structures. However, it still sits below, the residential building height limit, as well as just the placement of the enclosed accessory structure. We do have something in the code that states about side yards, and it's not the setback, but a garage or detached structure can only be set, a maximum of 5 feet off of the elevation of the home. But then when it exceeds that, then it has to come to the commission for review. So it's roughly about 10.7 something feet off of the northern elevation of the home. But does not extend at all into the side yard setback. They all fit the setback requirements here for this project. Regarding community design review, we think that from a staff's perspective, the guidelines were addressed through the design of this project. So there were no concerns that came up with the massing, just because now you can see that this garage that houses the second story living unit up top has been decreased in height, and the roofs have been lowered to kind of incorporate that second story into the structure. So in regards to those design guidelines, during the review, there was nothing that came out of those those guidelines that were not addressed. From staff's perspective, it seems like through the design and the architecture for this project, those guidelines were addressed. Also regarding tree preservation, no trees are noted on the lot to be removed, so that's why you do not have an arborist report for the size of the scale of this project. There's no trees deemed to be removed in this project. So, Carlos, you
should have control.
Okay, I'm going to try it now.
I mean, okay.
Okay, sweet. So then we're going to go down to the stormwater management side of this. So then what is proposed on the site? So there's a rear yard dry well flow well system that's actually along the northern property line behind the proposed garage that will actually discharge roughly near the rear setback line. Just to clarify, this picture is of the rear setback line. The property does have about 57 more feet to the west of it for their property line. They are also adding an NDS DuraSlope trench drain that's going to be on the driveway, which will pick up the flat work from the pool, and all of the garage will be pumped into that flow well there and discharge towards the southwest. The drain for the driveway and pool will actually discharge just a little west of that stormwater. Oh, sorry, just a little east of that. My fault. Just a little east of that flow well. However, the grade naturally just goes downhill in that area. So the water should just continue sloping back to their large backyard. In terms of, in that diagram that's right below the stormwater diagram, you can see I tried to take measurements from county, but today their measurement tool was not working. So roughly I did it based off of the site plan that was provided. And you can see that that's roughly where that rear yard setback line is. However, where that yellow arrow extends, that's still their rear yard. In relations to site plan review, so we've had to take the garage before the commission because it exceeds the area. It exceeds that 600 square feet that's permitted. That is the 600 square feet of the footprint of the garage, and that's how it is counted through code. That 969 square feet is lower than the house square footage. In relation to the height, you can see that this was a discussion that we had with the commission before. What has been done now is it shows on the cross section that height is roughly, I want to say, I have the exact numbers, I just can't read it from here. Yes. So, but the house is set at a different elevation. So the house is set at roughly 608, and where this garage is going to be placed is at 606. So it's going down. So if they were at the same elevation, it's probably less than a foot height difference. But where that's placed on the lot, there's about a 2 foot 11 inch difference between those two heights of the buildings. I want to also say that we should host or have encourage the discussion about subordinate. Just to clarify, the garage off of Watsonia, Carlos and I were doing some research, and was approved by the commission within like a 90%, difference. So it was pretty close. And if you're going off of 90%, how does that fit within subordinate?
90% of what?
It's, Carlos, how would you describe it?
It was about 90% of the height of the principal structure.
But in terms of the elevation difference between the.
Yeah, there was a significant elevation
Yeah.
difference, but if you were to measure the
No, I'm with
heights.
you, but that's where kind of the site
Mhm.
plan, where it, sits lower,
Mhm, definitely.
definitely makes a difference.
Yes, but from a staff's perspective with the,
I understand.
just the different elevations, just to take that into account when
Yeah.
doing the review here.
Understood.
Also, we've provided you with a property calculation table. This property calculation table gives you the different square footages. The ones that are kind of a little, peach orange colored, that's the only one that does not, suffice for the administrative approval, which is that garage. I do ask the petitioner, the one condition of approval was that we just tidy up the numbers based on accessory structure square footages. It's roughly, they're roughly uniform throughout the plans. However, there's one site plan that depicts it to be, their max coverage that is allowed is 1,575.2 square feet on their lot to have it for accessory structures. With the numbers that I was given by the architect, they're roughly 75 feet below that. They're fine. But the numbers on a different plan, which was a plan that we got prior to the revisions, so it may just not have been addressed during the revisions, show that it actually is only a 2 square foot difference, but they're below still. So they're below the cap, the maximum cap. We just want to clarify that. So it's either, 75 feet or 2 feet, but we'll get that clarified prior to, or as a condition of approval. But I just want to note that to the commission that for any future tenant or something down the line with these accessory structures in place, there's not a lot of additional square footage to accommodate additional structures or flat work on the site based off of the percentages that we've calculated. Is this all I have for this? Okay. I can answer any questions regarding the garage or any additional accessory structures, as well as the petitioner is present and today too.
Any questions amongst the commission? Petrie and.
I mean, I think that they've done a great job of addressing our aesthetic concerns. And again, I think it bears reminding that if they wanted to do an addition, a much larger addition to accommodate more square footage, they had that right. So this is to me a good alternative to that. And I think that should be taken into consideration. If they were proposing an addition, they could have made it much bigger additions to the original structure. I think they've done a good job of addressing our aesthetic concerns, and I'm glad they took that information, and Carlos worked with them, and it was they heard.
Right,
That's all I have to say.
right. Okay, anything else that should be noted? Anyone? Seeing none, appreciate it. We'll hear from the petitioner.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Yeah,
Hello again. Good evening. I'm Ilya Edelman of 820 North Bryce Road. I did hear a question about the solar panels. To clarify, we did shrink the length of the covered walkway. And in doing so, we also brought the accessory structure significantly closer to the main structure, as well as out of the shade of those trees in the backyard. So at this point, we are planning to put some of the panels still on the walkway and some of the panels on the actual garage structure itself. These will all be flat mounted. They're all black. They will be not too distinguishable from the roof, from the architectural tiles on the roof. So that's the plan for the solar panels.
good.
Mhm.
Good.
Mhm.
Anything else you want to go over, kind of like highlighting the differences of what
Yeah,
was done, kind of where?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we did submit a project report to go along with this, and I believe you guys probably have copies of that, where we went over in detail what we heard as the feedback. We heard feedback from neighbors. We heard feedback from the commission. We then went back to the drawing board and also met with Jack and Carlos to really get some solid guidance on how to best address the concerns that were brought up. And the primary concerns were the subordinate nature of the structure. And, really the main gist of it was we needed to incorporate the living space into the roof structure rather than having a full second story, which, as you can see, we did that here. We also tried to, again, minimize the impact of the site by moving the structure closer to have the two structures closer together. And also, as you can see in the revised rendering in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, to make the structure less visible from the street. And again, this is like kind of the maximum angle you can see it from. So we tried to address that as well. Again, you'll see materials are consistent. So the subordinate structure will look exactly the same, using the same hardy board material and white accents that the main house uses. We reduced the overall glazing on the structure. We also addressed some of the concerns about visibility into the neighbor's yard by removing the large windows from the south-facing wall of the structure. There's now only one, I believe. Yeah, there's the one window, the one small window on the south-facing wall. We also highlighted again the subordinate nature of the structure. So this is only 900 square feet of living space as opposed to the 1,500 of the house. The footprint is significantly smaller, and the first floor is a garage, which by definition is a subordinate function, right? We have a small one-bedroom apartment, whereas we have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. So again, to highlight that subordinate nature there. I think that's all I have to say as far as kind of what was done to address the concerns that we heard, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any commission members have any questions for the petitioner? No, I think you're good.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, at this time, we'd like to ask if there's any general or any comments, public comments related to this agenda.
Yeah.
All right.
Hi, everyone. Good to see everybody again. Tim Hellman, 800 North Price, south of the property. So 3 things that I'll bring up. One is the new design structure is much more aesthetically pleasing. It's much more in keeping with the architectural design of the house, the aesthetic of the primary home. It's great. We appreciate the change from the full 2-story structure to one that's more in keeping with the 1.5 structure. And I recognize the footprint is about 300 square feet smaller. That's slightly smaller than the previous iterations. Actually, I don't know if it's 300. We're also grateful that this design has been turned and moved further away from the property line. That's great. And this helps to minimize the sense of the structure feeling like it's towering over our backyard and garden area. 2 concerns, one specific, one's more general. First concern regards stormwater, which was the visual was up there, still is now, right now. There are currently 3 downspouts coming off of the current property, the house that discharged to the north and quickly flow into our property. You can see from the topography on the drawings that our property is at a lower elevation than 820. And so the water naturally flows from 820 into our property. We have a large vegetable garden and a fruit garden that sits directly on the other side of the fence. And we're concerned about runoff. Specifically pool runoff into the garden area, whether it's a saltwater pool or chlorine pool. If that pool, we're supposed to get like 3 inches of rain this weekend, so it is a possibility. But if any of that overflows, then chlorinated water or salt water does not mix with gardens, and so we would ask that be taken into consideration. Just one small note on that: we'd ask that the stormwater drain that empties, if it would discharge a little further north onto the property, just a note. And then the second concern is one more general. And I think the question in front of the PCDC is, are we ready and open to opening the door to ADUs? There is precedent for a second story. It came out in those, oh gosh, what do you guys call it? The meeting notes, whatever you post online under the agenda. There is precedent for a second story garage at Watsonia, but that's unequivocally, I think that's not the same thing. The Watsonia property is a game room. It is not a full apartment. It does not have a kitchen. It does not have a bathroom. It does not have living space. It does not have a bedroom. It's different. And so if the structure were to be approved, then the I think the question, guys, is this is a different precedent. This is a new precedent. And I think the question for the PCDC is, are we ready to open the door to two detached living units in on one lot? Thanks.
Thanks for your comments. All right. Go ahead, Jack.
And that was something that we did discuss internally about the stormwater. So we'll just bring that up regarding the location of that bottom right clean out, just kind of, being a little closer to the property line. And we don't know if that's something that was from from the engineer, but it could be something that, they may consider to move north of or farther away from that property line.
Gotcha. What about the pool? We don't have the drainage plans for the pool or.
So my understanding is the flat work is going to go into that driveway drain that's there, and then it will just be piped to that pop-up emitter that's north or, to the east. But also, again, I think the pool is out of the question because it would be approved administratively based on the size. But we would have to look at it.
Yeah, it's something,
Yeah.
I mean, given the concerns,
Yeah.
we can ask when the poll company submits the process they do for that. We just had a new one on Stacy Drive in which the systems are now controlled, so they never overflow because there's like some.
It's an auto trough they have.
Yeah,
They
so-
have this new system that they have this auto trough in it where the water, if it will get to a certain level, will fall into this auto trough, and then they're actually doing that piping to the same detention.
Yeah.
So they're doing this way. The guy from Bi-State Pools can describe it way better than I can, but
You're given the context.
it's some way of not allowing the pool to overflow, because the concerns with the neighbor at that time was that they have an older pool that does actually overflow, and that this newer pool that is proposed is having these, updated systems that now can accommodate for that heavier rain to then take into that auto trough. So it shouldn't, realistically, that pool that's proposed should not ever overflow.
Right. And
But-
the house gutter, if, since you're doing all this work, is there any way, something that could be done if there's, an impact to the adjacent neighbor, that we can get that addressed within this scope of work? Yeah. Okay, good. Okay.
One of the things if I can address on the accessory dwelling units, because it's a very good question and something that's posed, and I think it's something that the commission, not only in our comprehensive plan update, but we also have it on our list of accessory items to discuss. Right now, there is no definition of ADU or accessory dwelling units in our zoning code. And the reason there's not is because a majority of these properties are zoned single-family residential. We have several properties throughout the community where there are attached or detached separate units, but they're all governed that they all have to be occupied by the same family. If they're not, they're in violation of our code. That is not permitted. That is a full violation, and there's a process in terms of violations and how they go. We understand the concerns about renting a flat or Airbnbs. I mean, it's becoming very prevalent throughout here. We have 3 that we're constantly monitoring and trying to get corrected every time. And now you can even rent a pool, it looks like, and people are renting pools in our community. So we're trying to address those from the administrative process and through our policing powers in there. But this property is owned single-family residential. It is only intended for a single family. In there, a single family has to be blood related for the most part. In there, you could have, an acquaintance there or a partner that could live there. In there. The primary question, I think, more for the petitioner is, what is your proposed use of the sleeping quarters above the garage?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I think we discussed this at the previous meetings. Ultimately, my parents are aging, and that is the ultimate goal here. And the other use would be, my wife's family lives out of town. Her mother comes to visit for 2-3 months at a time. That is her living quarters. So that is the ultimate use of that space.
Very good. Thank you.
And I think then from there, the city does have to have this discussion of our comprehensive plan kind of promotes the use of independent accessory dwelling units from the principal structure, so somebody could lease it out or rent it. And there, but there's a balance, and I think we need to, narrow down and find out what type of regulations we would want in place and whether we would permit them. Just because a comprehensive plan says that this is an option to attainable housing doesn't necessarily mean that the community or the commission has to adopt it.
Right. Go ahead.
And I think following up and something I'll talk about later in my staff report, but this is an area that I know is still gray. So like right now it's permissible, but I know there's been challenges on this board before and when I was there. So I think it's something that if we got guidance from the PCDC or an opinion, we can take it up in city council to discuss, to provide, this is how we feel about it. And then maybe legislation could be passed one way or the other. But I think right now, to your point, it's, a little murky.
And at this point, and Jack did a good job of pursuing the utilities. It's under the same water line. It has the same sanitary, private lateral connection. Electrical is a little harder to control or see how that's going to be done, but we can have the follow-ups in that process.
Wasn't this addressed in our comprehensive plan where we
it
talked
is
to the public about it too, got some input?
There was some input about having independent accessory dwelling units
Yeah,
as a means to address attainable housing.
yeah. I thought it was positive and favorable.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, I
And
think
that-
I think that's the point that we're missing here is that we're not, as a community, think nothing of tearing down a single story house that could house, seniors easily, putting up McMansions left and right. And yet we have a problem with an ADU with one bedroom. I mean, I find the contrast really striking. And again, if they wanted to attach this to their primary resident, there would be nothing we could do to stop that, assuming that they would make it look, like the rest of the house. But, I realize that it's a touchy subject, but there are 2-story ADUs in this community. And we have to rely on the petitioner to tell us the truth. Are they only having blood relatives? They said yes. We don't have any basis to suggest that there's anything other than that. And so I think, maybe council needs to hear from us on this, but they made it very clear they want some affordability in this scheme of our comprehensive plan. And it's becoming untenable to live here at anything other than a very well-to-do family. And so this is a way that we can add affordability. Even if they're blood relatives, they're probably going to pay rent, maybe not. Maybe it's their college students. I don't know, but we can't just sweep under the rug when we don't like an ADU and say, oh, well, it really isn't clear in the comprehensive plan. I think it's crystal clear. We want to have some affordability here, and we're slowly chipping away at anything that's affordable by tearing down houses that are perfectly fine for seniors and for first-time families and putting up these McMansions that are cost prohibitive to most people. So I just wanted on the record that I think this is great that they've done an ADU. I'm glad that it's 1 bedroom and that a person can live in there that's related to them. I'm hoping that someday I'll be able to live in the backyard and my kids have my house. But, I do think that we have to make our position clear. I know not everybody agrees, and that's fine, but our comprehensive plan does cover this.
Yeah, well, and that's the point, was just to kind of highlight what we've already looked at, researched, what the opinion was of the city residents, but it is something new, and so I do think it's worthwhile, to reflect upon what's been done already, and is it the right thing to do? So
I don't think whether it's right or wrong, we don't have anything in our code that says it's wrong.
I'm not talking about this particular issue. I'm talking about in general for the future of ADUs, but just because we have something in the books doesn't mean it can't change. We need to, that's the problem with any regulation or things. There's unintended consequences. And if there are unintended consequences that are identified, then we need to change the regulations, you know.
I-
But I do think this is probably a discussion for a later time to kind of go more into detail, you know, with that and what's been done, where it's been done, how has it been done, how do the adjacent neighbors feel about it, you know, and stuff like that. There's always a fear of the unknown anytime you're doing something new. Go ahead,
And
Brian.
I want to separate, conversation and agree, we need to go much more detail because we need to separate conversations around ADUs as a whole, which comprehensive plan, ADUs at a certain structure or size, which is a different conversation. And I agree with Petrie that if someone's saying this is the way it's going to be and this is how I'm going to have someone live there, we have no reason not to believe otherwise.
Right.
At that point. So comprehensive plan does want accessible housing, does want all that to be done. It's gray area in terms of size and other things now, but I think again, that's one of the things I'll seek PCDC's feedback back to city council and we'll kind of go from there.
Good.
And if I can just add one more from a planner's comment on it, because we have several ADUs in there. There's one in Oak Estates that's been there and it's come before the commission, and it's a completely separated dwelling unit from the primary residence, and they have a front door right by the front door to the primary house, and the in-laws live right there next door. The code does not prohibit ADUs, nor does it address it, because under our zoning, single family residential, it is permitted. The aspect of the comprehensive plan and what it's addressing is, would we allow multifamily use on a single family property? And we don't have the regulations in place, nor do we permit it at this point. And that's the discussion that has to happen. Will the city allow multiple families to live on one parcel? And that is going to be difficult. It's especially when you have a suburban community that's primarily single family, and given the type of subdivisions we have, and it will be an interesting discussion. But given that we have no extra land, and if we do want to make housing attainable, would the city consider multifamily use on single family property? That's what the ADU would be about.
So Carlos, based on what you've described right now, the use is fairly restricted already based on what we have. So, I mean, to me, looking at this, it's a matter of aesthetics, then I'm not as so concerned about the use. I mean, I have no doubt that it's going to be used for family purposes based on what the petitioner said. You could sell the house tomorrow, though, and the next person that moves in there is not beholden to that. But what they are beholden to is the restrictions that you talked about. It would still need to be a single family as it's defined in it. From an aesthetic standpoint, I much prefer the design that we've seen. I think it looks great with the existing structure. My personal opinion, it fits within the definition of a subordinate structure, despite my issues with the way the definition of subordinate is written in here. But nevertheless, I do think it falls within that definition. So, I mean, I'm satisfied with what's been presented so far. But open to anybody else's comments or objections.
My whole thing is still, I think you did a great job with this. It's just, I don't like two-story structures, secondary structures. And there's still a 1.5, 2-story or whatever. I don't know if that's the precedence we want to set, to have another structure in the back. And that's my question is, if we change the rules for accessory structures, are we setting a precedence now that they could come back to us and say, hey, we approve this?
I'm pretty confident, you approving it, and Carlos, correct me, isn't like changing a rule or a law at all. That's what your point. I mean,
But if we go back and we redefine accessory structures like we're trying to do, would this not make that as defined, and we're gonna have problems later on? Because
I
we
would assume it's
approved this?
grandfathered would be my expectation, but
Okay. Okay.
I mean, I think it would be reasonable for a future petitioner, though, if to ask us for a distinction between what we're approving here and what they might propose in the future. So if we could say, listen, in this case, even though they were pretty close in height, if they were all at the same level, this was lower in the backyard, so it actually seemed lower. Or the square footage was less, and so we feel better. Or it was only 1.5, it wasn't a true two-story. We do need to be cognizant of that because I think future petitioners will come to us and see it as unfair, which is something we don't want.
I would also note that, for those of us in small houses, we're part of Chevy Chase, and the houses are very, very modest for the most part. And if I ever wanted a real garage, I would have to put in, a garage in the backyard, which then, leads to would I put an accessory unit above? I can't get a car in my garage now. I mean, it's tiny. And it's because of the era in which it was built. So I'm not surprised that somebody would want to build a garage and take advantage of the space over it to add living space. And again, we have to take the petitioner at his word. And you're right that we can't predict what the next person's going to do, but that's up to the city to figure out how they permit that unit and whether code enforcement, meaning my husband, is aware that somebody other than relatives are living in a unit and declaring a code enforcement issue. So I think we can't just assume there are going to be bad actors here. I think that's tragic if that's the case.
I don't think anybody is.
Yeah.
I think my general point was I'm not really as concerned about use because of the rules that are already in place that are gonna govern it. If there were no rules, it was unfettered use, then I think that's a different discussion. But I'm more focused on aesthetics for the purposes of this petition.
Go ahead.
I agree with Sam that I think that this petition looks significantly better than what we saw before. It seems smaller looking at it just from the view. I like how it has been turned, how the windows are facing Price Road instead. Again, I think it's more of aesthetics at this point.
Very good. Okay. Do I hear a motion? Is there any more further discussion? I think we've kind of talked it all through. So
Not sure if you got it.
We still got, we only have one.
do we have any other public comments? We kind of jumped after we, started talking about that, but are there any other public comments that need to be made for this petition? Seeing anybody in the audience? No? No? Anyone online? Okay, that being said, what's our pleasure? Do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
A motion to approve the petition for site plan for community design review and concept stormwater management review for enclosed accessory structure consisting of 969 square feet footprint at an upper level finished area consisting of an accessory dwelling unit totaling a height of 23 foot 6 inches from grade with a placement north of the principal building structure located at 820 North Price Road, as presented in the memorandum from the Department of Planning and Community Development dated October 16th, 2025, subject to any staff conditions noted therein.
I just have a question. Is that the placement north of the principal structure?
I was gonna say, isn't that east?
Yeah.
So would you mind amending that?
That is addressing that the structure is not directly behind the house.
No, okay.
It's a little bit north. It's about this issue. Here's the house and it goes more than 5 feet
Yeah.
north of the house. Okay.
Understood. Okay, good.
Makes
Thanks
sense.
for the clarification.
No problem. I understand.
I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made by Laura Ragsdale and seconded by Petrie Paul. Carlos, you please call the vote.
Commissioner Ragsdale,
Approved.
Commissioner Spielglass,
No.
Commissioner Ford,
Approved.
Commissioner Powell,
Approve.
Commissioner Wallach,
Approved.
Commissioner Jurgel.
Approved.
The motion passes 5-1.
Thanks, everybody. I appreciate the discussions and the changes. Yeah. Okay, good.
The 2 stories.
Okay, we'll move on to item 3, and once again, I appreciate your patience with this. Item C is 9538 Olive Boulevard, special permit for a restaurant, Taste of Jiangnan.
And Don, beforehand, I'll give you the, and again, Chairman, I do want to apologize, but we were trying to accommodate Nolan Realty and the petitioner.
Yeah.
So they had just brought the information in, so I couldn't put them on top of the agenda.
Yeah.
We knew it was going to be busy, but thanks
Yeah.
again.
If you're speaking, if you could speak in front of the mic.
Yes, sir.
All right, Tom.
I could make other comments. So I do want to apologize for a misspelling on this first slide. It is Jian Nan. Jian Nan?
Yes.
Jian
Jian
Nan.
Nan.
I've been practicing. It is a restaurant. Jian Nan, the Taste of Jian Nan is a proposed Chinese restaurant, about a little over or a little under 4,000 square feet, to be located in the Easy Storage building between the Easy Storage Suites and the Domo Suite, or if you're depending on which way you're going on Olive. And so let's see where we are considering mostly the where'd it go? The special use permit that is required for a restaurant to locate specifically a full service restaurant. It's about 67 proposed seats. And I think I'm on the wrong slide, or it just got a little bit mixed up. Okay, so we already went over the suites that it would be in. There are several things that are not applicable. Of course, the usual review. This is already approved development. It is an existing building. This is simply for the restaurant use. Concerns that had been brought up or were expected were the parking. And the petitioner proposes leasing spots from the bowling alley and also using spots from Dobb. There is a breakdown within your packet for where the 27 stalls are. There are 27 stalls on site, and then they will be leasing the 16 stalls for a total of 43. There is a whole breakdown on how we require parking. It is slightly different. There's a 20% discount for this mixed use building for the number of cars that they're allowed to have on the parking lot. Or I mean, required to have on the parking lot.
Yes.
And then, were there any questions about the parking specifically?
Is there going to be signage associated with that directing, people to the different sides, where there's overflow parking?
They haven't proposed any yet, but there's still kind of a lot of information that we're waiting for from the petitioner. This is something that we put together for their parking plan. We'll need to see a lease agreement recorded in order to, assure that they have the parking. But we don't have a parking plan at the moment.
Is there parking on the south side of the bowling alley? Or would it all be on the north and west side of the bowling alley?
I do assume it would be on that west side, because that's where it's closest to. But it's
Yeah, there's no parking in the back of the
Yeah.
Olive Lane. Sorry.
I didn't think so.
yeah. We didn't do the that far out.
I think it would be good to have some wayfinding in case there's, the lot, everything's full and we got people just circling around waiting for a spot, kind of to direct them, to the different properties.
Yeah,
Right, and there's only one way in to this property, correct? There's
actually,
only one,
no.
two?
There's a controlled right in, right out on the far western end, right by Dobbs. In there, and then of course there's the signalized entrance right off of Indian Meadows.
Okay.
And
So, yeah, if I wish I
I
could
see it.
zoom in on that
see.
little aerial there, that came in handy.
What things are you waiting to see on the lease agreements?
They haven't they haven't executed them yet, but we wanted them to submit the
Yeah.
diagrams as opposed to us doing that for them and just saying,
Understood.
here you go.
Understood. Okay.
And we also so this kind of ends the parking discussion, as it were, since we don't have a diagram specifically for them or a lease agreement to reference. The other concern is the exhaust duct system that would have to come out of the top of the building. They had, or that's what they have stated that they would do with the exhaust. However, we don't have any schematics on that telling us how that would be possible or what it would look like, or what it would look like to the neighboring properties. There is a height variation here, obviously, so the properties behind it would not have a bird's eye view to see the ductwork on top of the building. However, it's actually the gray, and I have to see in front of this. The grayness kind of makes that look like a monolith on the screen where it almost looks like a parking lot, but that is the building, and it's a bird's eye view from about like 50 or 100 maybe feet up from the houses behind it. So they see that monolith, and the ductwork would be on top.
Right.
So is there a parapet that goes around this building?
There's not.
And is there any HVAC units up on top of that building?
yes, there are both. Yes,
assume,
there.
They're kind of right down the center, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And can you see them from the street? I don't remember.
No, you
It's on the
can't see them.
front. It's not on the back.
The overall height of the building is right here.
I think there's a small parapet.
Yeah,
On the back.
this piece here, I think extends above the roof line.
And I'm sorry, there isn't on the back, but there is on the front. Is that correct?
No, it
There
goes
is a
around the
curve
perimeter.
On the back, along
Yeah.
the,
It's, yeah, okay.
okay, that's.
It
what I
is
thought.
flat.
Yeah,
Okay.
but on the front there is.
The one thing that we were, not a concern, we just made it specifically clear that, they needed to be cognizant of the exhaust system. One is they can't go back because there is if you look at the floor plan,
Easy storage.
the easy storage and all that. So I think the intent is, and the principal construction manager for Nolan is here, that it's going straight up.
And the petitioner is here for any questions that you
Yeah.
might have.
Is there anything, we can still review this without the lease agreements and things like that?
We're also asking for their interior finishes and things that they have planned, but we don't,
It wouldn't be anything that the commission would review. I mean, for permitting, they'll come in with their final outlines, but this is all interior
Makes sense.
in there.
Right.
Regarding and I talked to Mr. Clackner next door, they're in discussions of whether they want to lease or sell the excess spaces. They'll have to make that final determination before the special permit could get issued. So in there.
So I see one primary door that's going to be at the waiting, but we also have two other doors. I'm sure those were for each of the the previous, kind of separations. Are those going to remain, or are those going to be closed off, or, what's the intent with those doors?
Let me bring the petitioner up.
Okay. If petitioner could come up, that would be great. We do ask you to state your name and address for the record for both of you guys, if you don't mind.
Hi, my name is Suraj. So I'm representing the owner, the property owners, Easy Storage.
What's your last name?
Balal, Suraj Balal. So I'm the construction manager for Easy Storage.
Good. And your address?
9538 Olive Boulevard.
Right.
So I just want to, address few things before moving into the interior stuff regarding the parking. We're not leasing it. We want to buy the parking lot. It's not 16. I think it's Carlos, if you go to the parking,
Yes.
it's 12 spaces that we want to buy from. You can see kind of a dark. There's 4 in each row, so 12 spaces that we want to buy from Dawn. That's Olivate Lanes, and they have agreed to sell us those spaces. We're just waiting on once we have the approval, the restaurant approval.
Yeah.
We're gonna go ahead and buy, not lease but buy those.
So will you put signage up on?
Yeah,
spots
yeah.
that-
Like you mentioned, we can put if there's any overflow,
Yeah.
that we have additional parking. Not a problem whatsoever.
Great.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be, we won't have to go back onto Olive to get there. You could just cut through, right?
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
gonna be-
that's
that's-
open. So
yeah.
we do have probably, I would say 22 feet. So there should be two-way traffic, no problem.
I do see there's like an offset, from the driveway between the parking spots in front of the building.
Yeah.
And then there's kind of a little bit of an offset. I mean, should that be?
So you're talking about the curb offset?
Yeah.
So I think we should have enough space. So, well, this is just a rendering that we submitted. But yeah, if you go to so we should have 22 feet or more, if I'm not wrong. Do you want to change the curb? Is that what you
I'm
want?
just wondering if,
Lot space there
yeah,
for cars to get through.
okay.
Yeah.
So going, I just wasn't sure if they should be lined up, so it goes straight across rather than having a little bit of a jog. Pretty well, okay. I'm just throwing that out there for discussion.
And as far as the ducting, so it does go to the roof. That's what we recommended. But we wanted as a owner, we wanted them to have duct going through the roof and not to the back or the side.
Yes.
And standing behind, you won't be able to see it. Right now, you have the rooftop. We have 5 rooftop units on the top.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can see it from either side. And the building is probably 50 feet up, so you won't be able to see the exhaust duct. It's going to be in the front of the building because the space is in the front.
Yeah.
So I don't think you can see any duct coming out or nothing whatsoever.
You have an existing utility shaft, or how are you gonna get?
Well, we'll have to cut open the floors.
Floors?
Yeah,
Okay.
because we didn't know what kind of tenant we usually have.
Yeah.
So we do have, for the rooftop units, all those things, but not for the big exhaust.
Right.
It's going to be a big hood.
Yeah. Right.
So,
Right.
as far as interior, their architect is not here today.
Mhm.
So if you have any questions regarding the, restaurant interior,
My concern was just kind of those doors,
Okay.
the doors that were up against.
up against, yeah.
tables.
I think they plan to keep all 3 doors and
Okay.
use one door as a,
Emergency.
yeah,
exit.
emergency,
Yeah,
yeah.
to have access. Okay.
And I think in the plan it shows, kind of waiting area there. Yeah, this is right. This is where if you're standing, in a neighbor's front yard or backyard, you won't be able to see, it's too high.
Exactly. Okay. Tim, you have any questions?
I do actually. So where's the grease trap gonna go?
It's gonna be inside, in the kitchen area. I think they show that in the plans.
Okay.
I think in the plumbing plans they do show a grease trap. It's just floor mounted.
Okay.
And they should have a dedicated line. The sewage line is dedicated to all the
Right here.
tenants.
So what I don't want to see happen is that it goes out the front door and you put it outside. I could tell you,
Yeah.
and I'll tell them that that is a no-no.
No,
So if you
I
can't
agree.
do that and MSD doesn't approve that.
I agree.
Then you're gonna have to go all the way to the back, and that's gonna be really expensive to do.
No, I agree. As a owner, the building owner, we don't want that as, for the other tenants.
Right? So the other thing is you guys need to really make sure you understand to go up through that roof and what's
Yes.
gonna entail to do that.
Yes.
Okay? So that's,
It's gonna go through the, county for all the approval, duct, everything, yeah.
so we're clear on the committee that we will not allow it to go out back
Oh, no,
No matter
we
what.
don't want it,
Right.
Go out.
or out
The
front
exhaust?
the
What about
exhaust,
the
yeah.
side?
No, exhaust, go.
or the side,
Or the
anywhere.
side.
It's gotta go up. It's gotta go up.
Go
Yeah, yeah.
straight up, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I guess the only other thing is, the smell of it. And we gotta make sure that, that you're directing it up and it's not getting into the neighbors and
Yep.
you're having a major
100%.
smell thing.
Or your rooftop units, the intakes.
Yeah, we're gonna keep at least 20 feet from the rooftop unit.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's by code. You gotta
Yeah.
do it. So that's not a problem.
I think there's a code that you need to have a minimum 10 or 15 feet. I believe,
That's good.
Okay, I'm good.
on the rooftop unit.
Any other questions or comments for the petitioner?
Oh, I have a question. Where is the waste? I didn't think is there access in the back for trash? Restaurants have a lot of waste,
Oh,
right?
good point.
So we do share a dumpster spot. The actual building has a dedicated enclosure, dumpster enclosure. We just have, so it's,
Right here.
yeah, right. It's right next to the stairwell on the exterior. For some reason it shows. It's an old plan, I think, Carlos.
Is that the,
The new one does show it outside the.
right?
Yeah, we have a dedicated enclosure for all the tenants, and they should use that.
It's inside the building, is that correct?
No, it's outside
It
the
is
building.
outside
Yeah.
the building,
Yeah.
but inside an enclosure?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's right behind the Domo. I don't know if you can see it.
That goes way back.
Quick demo job.
Going back in time.
Yeah, you can see so you can see there
Oh, yeah.
the black fence, gate fence. So that's a enclosure.
I'm gonna go a little bit further back. Bear with me, everyone.
Yeah, there. Yeah, it's not connected to the building. It's enclosed and it's exterior.
So it's kind of like an opening.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay.
And you
And
said it's shared with
inside
the
the
other
building,
tenants. Won't you have more waste with the restaurant? Because I know Domo's food as well, correct?
Yeah, we all share the same dumpster enclosure. Is that what she's asking, right? Yeah, yeah. We just have to increase, the number of pickups. No.
Okay.
Any other questions from the commission? Petrie?
You're muted.
Petrie.
I was just gonna ask, this is coming to us because basically all restaurants have to go through this special use
Yeah.
permit. That was the only question I had.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll ask for some public comments to see if, well, we have nobody else online. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to add a public comment? Yeah, no worries, no worries. All right.
Chairman, real quickly, if I can, and I apologize, but Can you talk a little bit about the schedule and what the intent would be, and then?
So pretty much, once they have the approval tonight, we should have the final lease, pretty much in next, this month, I would say by end of this month.
Mhm.
And, once we have the permit, it would be about 120 days is what we're looking at to finish. So,
By
say we
summer?
start, yeah. No,
Summer
before summer, yes,
2026.
for sure.
And then real shortly, can you describe some of the hours of operation and then a little bit of the cuisine?
You wanna tell, what's the operation hours?
Yes.
Please state your
I
name.
wanna say from probably we open at 10, but we close at 10 too. It's later maybe we open for breakfast. But it's not anything soon. It's probably because we got to organize and run restaurants well first. Then we start to open the night and the breakfast. Because the new restaurants will hire a lot of people because it's pretty big.
Yeah.
So it's need to manage it right first. But for now the hours will just from 10 to 10 or 10 to 9.
Gotcha. Just for clarification, if you could state your name and address for the record.
On my house address or?
Oh, you can use the business address.
Okay. Oh, it's my name is Wen Taoxia, and the address 9538 Olive Boulevard.
Okay, thank you. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. The hours of operation, with the restaurants and all of that, is that within what's allowable?
Yes.
Are they specially done for each?
No, I mean, and there are some times where we restrict hours, where there are concerns, like we did with Great Harvest Brewery, where it was a little bit tighter in the process because of, the diversity of the different tenants. And there, in this case, we don't have a concern
Right.
in there, but just so the commission has an understanding.
How's that match up with the adjacent ice cream place?
I think they'll be great. I mean, in terms of the two uses, you can get two compatible uses that would kind of, but in parking, what I've seen in there, we should be okay. They by code, the ice cream place would, I believe it was like 4 dedicated stalls that they would be required, and they've been pretty good. The nice thing is, given the accessibility of the community and on Olive with the sidewalks, I get more foot traffic there than the vehicle traffic.
Yeah, that's great. How's the hours of operation match up to the?
Domo, I think, is 10. Yes.
Yeah, I believe that they are open from like noon or 11 till 10 p.m.
Okay, well, it matches up good. then.
Yes.
Great. Okay, any other discussion items, questions, comments? All right, seeing none. What's your pleasure, everybody? Do I hear a motion?
I'm sorry. So can we put that in about the grease trap and about the exhaust fan in this, or how does that work?
Yes, you can, and we can make sure that they're part of the adopting ordinance.
Yep. Yes, please.
Sounds like you're ready to make a motion.
No, I'm good. I don't want to make a motion.
Well, I don't know. if
Given the
anybody can
conditions, I think you.
Say about the grease trap, so. Tim, this is
Oh,
your
yeah.
chance. This is your chance.
Motion to approve a petition forward a recommendation to the city council to consider authorizing a special use permit for the taste of
Jiangnan.
Jiangnan, and to locate 3,772 square feet, 67 seat dine-in Chinese restaurant to be located at 9538 Olive Boulevard. Approve the petition for site plan, community design, and concept stormwater review as illustrated in the permit plans as presented on October 16th, 2025. As presented before the commission and noted the memoranda from the Department of Planning and Community Development dated October 16th, 2025, subject to any staff condition noted therein. These and we want to make sure that the exhaust fan has to go through the roof and the grease trap has to be interior.
Well done. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been made by Tim Spiegelglass and seconded by Sam Wallach. Carlos, you please call the vote.
Commissioner Ragsdale,
Approved.
Commissioner Spiegelglass,
Approve.
Commissioner Ford,
Approved.
Commissioner Powell,
Approved. I'm
Commissioner
just in a
Wallach.
house full of kids, so that's why I've been muting myself.
Sure.
Approved.
And Commissioner Jurgo.
Approved.
And the motion passes unanimously, 6-0.
Fantastic. Thank you guys for waiting. Really appreciate it. We're glad you're choosing Olivet for your restaurant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We're gonna move on to other business, but be mindful, it's 9:40.
I understand, Chairman,
I'm
but
ready.
it is very important. I'll go,
Yeah.
be glad.
You want to do it or
Yeah.
should I? Okay. Then yeah,
Because we,
speed through it.
you know, solar panels, the commission's authorized us to approve solar panels to bring them to their attention. And if the panels are not all on the same plane, or they're leveled and not parallel with the roof line, or of some unique color, they got to go through an application process. There is a deadline coming up for the tax rebates on these. So we got an uptick on 3 solar panels being submitted. We wanted to just inform the commission, and so they're on the record. This one is 2 Carter Court. They're all on the same plane facing southward. You can see the property here. They don't face a street.
Looks good.
Number 2 is 6 Bond Hills. They're facing southward again to the rear yard. They don't face the street. And however, these are in different planes. We want to bring that to the commission's attention. In this case, we feel confident that the commission would be okay.
good.
All right. And then third, 764 Elkington Lane. These will be on the south side of the roof area here. So it's south is here. This is the street side. So they're not facing the rear, they're facing the south, which is the side elevation. They are also on different planes because of the configurations of the roof line on the house, but on the same side. I hope the commission, that's the one that I hope everyone's okay.
I'm personally okay. Does anybody see anything different?
No.
Seeing nods or agreements, I should say, all the way around. So good. Nicely done.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so then we'll move on to 2024 comprehensive plan. I think we should table that.
Actually, no, I'm gonna hold you. I'm gonna make this really quick. But we all know about the comprehensive plan, and it's full of big ideas that get collated to a vision and then our objectives that govern how the commission makes decisions. What I want to quickly talk about, because the council's starting this discussion at the direction, with discussions with our liaison about the council giving us some direction of where they would want us to go on the comprehensive plan. So they had that discussion in there. And what my goal was like to make sure that the commission is looking at it from a higher level. I mean, the comprehensive plan really is what staff does on behalf of the commission and how the commission makes decisions. The council kind of directs everything on which things are going, and they also have other plans to be concerned about. But ultimately, I believe, and to make it simple, is, the council controls the money, and the money decides what gets done. And that could be either in implementing something and providing staff and things like that. And the council has a lot of people asking, pulling for money. So when it gets to the comprehensive plan, there were these big ideas. We had a big community input, so that gives the council a good basis of the last time we've had, a lot of community input in a process. It developed the vision. It set up goals, objectives, and then potential community actions. And then the guiding principles, we've gone through these about community diversity, sustainability, balanced economy, affordability, connected, built environment, sense of place. And then the individual goals, there's 10 of them. I won't go through them. But how is it implemented, especially from the council side? We kind of talked about, is it a top-down approach, bottom up, or is it circular? The council's got a tough idea because for the council, it's just a guide, kind of like our development guidelines. They're not law, and they don't dictate to the council. It's just a guide for them. However, for staff, it's our responsibility to implement, to make sure that all the codes are articulating the goals and objectives of that. And then for the commission, it's the basis of how you make decisions. So it's a different process for the council. So for the council, and they kind of had a work session discussion, is like, again, they should look at it as a guide to govern land use, other priorities, and it's full of big ideas. It's their leadership because they control the budget, and the council has its own goals, and they should see, if they want to help implement the comprehensive plan, try to make sure that their goals are consistent with the comprehensive plan, or at least where they want to see that work. And the council's got a lot. I mean, the council kind of in the middle with its own goals. We're not the only board and commission that reports to the council. The council has a liaison, the boards have staff, and then, there's a parks plan, there's plans for the fire, police, regional plans. But ultimately, there's only so much to fund in the process. And again, funding is about resources, which includes, individuals, it includes, consultants, it includes actually purchasing and things like that. So that's how the city council uses the plan. And, the goal here is like to emphasize that the liaison is our main conduit going back to the council, and that is the council's main conduit going back to the commissions and the various boards, because ultimately what you want to do or implement is to get into the budget or get funding in there. Again, funding could be having additional employee staff to implement things, having facilities like this to be able to engage the public in there. And the council had that discussion. And I'll let the liaison, if there's anything else that they want to add to it, but they're talking about taking the commission's comments and looking at what are their priorities and then provide feedback to this commission.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add, I got 45 minutes worth of slides, but just to call out, I think that's important. We won't go through tonight in much detail, but if there are things like ADUs, like trees, like, we've talked about that new construction of trees, or, or we want to do anything with people cutting down trees, we want a permit. We're going to need guidance from the commission here of what are the 3 or 4, I'm making this up, areas you would like an opinion back from the council on what we want. And then similar, I think the council is going to probably send things back here to say, these are things we think we should be thinking about and kind of guidance. So I think it's a two-way street. So my ask for all of you is maybe what are the 3 or 4 topics? I can pick a few that I know we've talked about over the last few years that you'd really like direction from a litigation, if we were to actually write laws or things like that, what would be? And then I think we're going to need to set up a work session. The commission will have to set a work session to give me notes to take back, and then I'll vice versa.
Good. I like it. Well, that was very fast. You really pushed through that. I was watching the time.
I know.
I'm very impressed.
One last thing, Ms. Doty gave a presentation to the Chantress program at the University of Missouri, St. Louis, in there where Olivet kind of talked about our planning process in there. And we talked about, how we work through our comprehensive plan system. Going back to 2006, a decision was made to relocate our city facilities off of Olive Boulevard, and then to use the opportunity to use the I-170 interchange and the former city facilities as bookend to implement redevelopment, which we went out on RFPs on both ends, and then we started getting private interests like Easy Storage, Plant Haven, and other properties that started making improvements in there. And the end of the day is like the proof's in the pudding. So we went from a commercial assessed value of a little bit over 50,000 to 94 million. If you look at all the strategies that the city used by doing this relocation, doing these RFPs, we've nearly doubled our commercial value. Now, that doesn't mean that we're like now bringing in all the money. There is what they call the Hancock Amendment, and that keeps that we can't increment our property revenues more than the cost of inflation. There's a little bit more to that. But what that does is that now allows us to lower our assessments, both residential and to commercial in there. You are paying more, of course, but you're paying kind of an interest aspect, but we're also have a bigger pool that now we can pull from. And again, it's a measurable result of, good planning on the commission and the city's part.
That discussion seems like it'd be a good thing for the newsletter. It's pretty good, so. All right.
I think Mr. Carswell has one set of minutes that were prepared together that he wants to read.
I will acknowledge receipt of the May 15th, 2025 meeting minutes. Thank you. If there's any corrections or comments, please talk to Jack. All right, we'll move on to reports. Carlos already issued his report.
Yes, and let us know about your availability on the highlighted dates. That's the only thing I would ask. As we get closer to the holiday season and all that, I know there's busy, and then schools have events that are going on. So please give us a heads up if you have any conflicts coming up in there. Things have been picked up. I think we got a couple of houses and other things that are coming down the pipe.
Do we have any religious holidays that fall?
Not that fall on these dates, but
Good.
they're pretty close.
Okay,
Hmm.
okay.
Okay.
Take a look at everybody, see what you know, if you're gonna make them. If you're not, if you already know, let Carlos know and then we can plan accordingly. All right, good. Tim or Brian?
Anything, anything I was gonna say is on there, so.
All right,
yeah.
good. That being said, nothing further. We'll adjourn at 9:51 due to Carlos.
All right.
Wow.
Thank you, ladies, for attending. I greatly appreciate it.
Carlos,
We'll
that's
see you.
very impressive how fast you